What's going on, guys? Welcome back to SwampCast. It's Logan. It's EJ. EJ, how we feeling, baby? Gators go in, they get a dub. It's great, man. Oh, also the shades. Love it. Love it,
man. We back. We coming.
Yes, sir.
Gators.
Yes, sir.
Man, what a week. What a week. In 8 days, 2 top 25 wins.
Unbelievable.
I said it's great to be.
Yes, sir. Man, unbelievable, man. I mean, I had a lot of friends that went to this game yesterday, a lot of people I know, and they said the energy in the swamp was unbelievable and something they haven't felt in a very long time. I mean, it honestly feels like, screw it, dude. Throw us in the playoff, dude. Throw us in there. I feel like we
Put us in the playoff.
Let's see what happens, man. I feel like this Gator team can beat a lot of teams right now in the top 25. I feel like they can beat a lot of teams in the top 15. And, you know, it's insane. ESPN finally has us in the power rankings at number 25, which means that we would be, like, all that means is, you know, like, who would be favored in a one-on-one matchup. So, I mean, we're above Arizona State. We're above a couple of other really big schools that we're at least favored above. So we're getting a lot of respect now, man. Kirk Herbstreit talked on and on, even at the Alabama and Oklahoma game last night that he was commentating. He spoke about the Gators a few times in that game. You know, we're getting a lot of love, man, and the fan base is feeling great right now. So we're going to dive into all this, man. We're going to dive into this Ole Miss game. We're going to dive into what the future is. We're going to dive into what is going right for the Florida Gators. And I'm sure we have some differing opinions on maybe what made us come around that corner. And we want to hear your guys' opinions on that too. What do you think we're doing right? What do you think it took? I know what I personally think, but definitely we're going to dive into all that. We're going to make our Week 14 picks. It's rivalry week, baby. FSU week. We're going to dive into that. I'm sure the FSU prep will not be a long segment. And yeah, man, we're going to just talk a little bit about the playoff and kind of what we expect with that, because there's a lot of weird loopholes and weird things with the playoff. A lot of unexpected outcomes, I think, ahead. No matter what, someone's going to get screwed in some way. It's going to be very interesting. Anyways, EJ, how are you, man? How's life? How was your experience this Saturday with the San Diego fam? Let's hear it.
Yeah. So we're all out here on the West Coast, just loving life, man. You know, we usually are pretty carefree out here in California. And you know, when we were down as a team, as a program, we're just kind of like, you know, the next wave will come, man. We'll just jump on the next wave and we'll be good. And we did not think it would be this quick. And we didn't think that we'd be able to end the year the way that the year started, right? But here we are. It's beautiful. One thing, you know, to say just real quick about the top 25. And I was just thinking about this the other day. And our good friend Josh Pate always used to say this.
Love him.
He's great. You know, Florida, we're 6-5, which doesn't look great, but we're 0-5 versus teams in the top 15. 6-0 versus everyone else. So does that mean that we can't technically be the 16th best team in the country? Because, I mean, in theory, you're supposed to lose to everybody that's ranked ahead of you, right? But tell anybody ranked 16 to 25, do they want to play us right now? I know we don't want to get ahead of ourselves and be cocky or anything like that, but the team is playing with a lot of heart, a lot of energy. They play so many players. I mean, when you look at who got playing time in this game, I thought they were about to put both of us in. You want a piece? And I think that gets out. I think young potential recruits are seeing that, and they are excited about the future. So there we go.
Yeah, man, I agree. I mean, you know, who doesn't look at this team and thinks, "Wow, I want to play for that." You know what I'm saying? And
Right.
one of our recruiting assistants, who actually, by the way, went to Texas A&M for like 4 weeks in the offseason and then came back. It was so weird because Texas A&M stole a bunch of our players. Scooby, Jaden Hill, and a bunch of other people. It's funny. Mike Elko just came right over to Gainesville and took everyone. And he took one of our recruiting assistants, and he went there for 4 weeks, came back. He got some like insider intel. It was really funny. And he tweeted out
Nice.
after the game. He was like, same thing. He's like, to all the recruits out there, who looks at DJ Lagway and doesn't want to play for that guy? Who looks at Billy Napier, super emotional in the post game, interview, and doesn't want to play for that guy? Who looks at the Swamp, 90,000 fans rocking at 12 a.m. or 12 p.m. This is a noon game, and doesn't think, man, I want to go play in Gainesville. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's just we're at such a high right now, and coming into this game, we were both so, iffy. We didn't want to really lean into it after the LSU game because as a
Right.
Gator fan, we all know we always get a high and then it just comes crumbling down. You know what I mean?
Right.
DJ plays crazy, gets injured versus Georgia. Will Greer is going to lead the Gators to a national championship, has the steroid issue, whatever. There's always something happening. Jordan Reed fumbles. Like there's so many things that happen that just everything goes to crap. And it's just we're at a high right now, and it feels great. And recruiting, I already know recruiting is going to go crazy. I expect another 2 or 3 flips. You know what I mean? Let alone a bunch of commits. Transfer portal is going to be opening up soon. That's going to be huge. I expect to get a lot of guys out of that. Because I'm telling you right now, EJ, if we can get DJ time in the pocket, if we can let him drop back and not have guys in his face and let him just step into his throw. Oh my God. Lagway's coming for that Heisman next year. Even if we don't have that, Lagway's coming for that Heisman next year, and the Gators are a playoff team next year, I think, at this point, no matter what. This is unbelievable. Yeah, man. Let's dive into this game. Let's look up some of the stats here. Actually,
Oh yeah.
EJ, you
I
sent me the PowerPoint, so let me
yeah.
go to that real quick. Let me open this up. Um,
Yeah, we can talk about the Florida offense and then
yeah,
the Florida defense. What a performance. Man.
unbelievable. I Okay, here it is. I got it. Uh, you go ahead and start, EJ. While I start pulling this up, you can go ahead and talk about it for a second.
Yeah, so real quick, going into this game from a statistics standpoint, the statistical profiles of both these teams was a clear Ole Miss victory. It was very similar to the Texas game. The stats in the Texas game, Texas was just clearly a better team offensively and defensively. The the two wild cards, though, when you look at these stats, are number one, DJ Lagway didn't play in the Texas game. So the team probably just took the week off. And number two, the strength of schedule. So Florida's numbers, if you were to weight your stats based on the schedule that you've played and to say, okay, well, I trust Florida more. I trust their stats more because they've done this against the number one strength of schedule in the country. That holds a lot of weight compared to Texas or Ole Miss, who statistically look really, really good, but their strength of schedule is, in the 30s, 40s. Particularly Texas, they haven't really played nearly as difficult a schedule um, as Florida or Georgia, for example. So those were two kind of wild cards that we were looking at. We were also looking at the fact that Ole Miss had two very good performances prior to this game. They scored 63 on Arkansas. They really just stonewalled Georgia. And then they were coming off a bye week. So they were fresh. They were like focused on Florida. Lane Kiffin wanted to prove to everyone that he wanted this job.
Mm-hmm.
And Florida, we're just like, okay, this is literally the fourth game in a row that we've had to play against a top ranked team.
Yep.
We're tired, we're battered, we're bruised. it's at noon. We're sleepy time. No one thinks that we have a chance, and then we still show up because you know why? We have him at quarterback.
Yep.
And defensively, as we watch the game, yeah, I know we're going to talk about the defense a little bit, but I really think the defense had a great game plan. This bend but don't break type of mentality that we'll talk about. And in the offense, we give Billy Napier a lot of I mean, it's one of those, it's like you're in a relationship. Like you hate the person, then you love the person,
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
like, why do you do this? Why do you I love you? That's the Billy Napier off. I'm just like, they've capitalized when they need it. Um, they don't seem to do as well as we think. But then again, I'm always thinking in the back of my head, who are we playing? Statistically, this was the top defense in the SEC.
Mhm.
So there were some things that we were gonna surrender, which we did, which we'll talk about. But overall, I think Billy Napier has proven time and time again that number one, he can put together a winning game plan. The question is in-game decisions, will he make enough of those to win the game versus his opposing head coach, which in this game, Lane Kiffin is a risk taker. We all know that. He takes big risks.
And he did.
And he did in this game. He opted to not put points on the board twice, and not saying it would hurt because that would have been 6 points field goals wise, but from a momentum, from a game flow standpoint, maybe that would have helped Ole Miss. I don't know, but you just got to think like, okay, we're playing Lane Kiffin. He's going to take risks. Can we get can we get a stop? We did. And overall, DJ Lagway, the one thing that we talked about going into the game was for him, can he play a solid, clean game without any egregious mistakes? Now, he had the one high pass that was it hit DK in the hands. I still think he should have caught it.
Yeah.
It was high and it got intercepted. Miracle tip drill pick by Ole Miss. Ole Miss then proceeds to score a touchdown to take the lead. But after that, I noticed something. He decided a sack is better than an interception, which is like I was like, this is growth. This is growth. He's no longer a freshman.
Yep.
He's no longer a freshman. So sacks are better than forcing it over the middle and getting an interception, particularly against this team, and throwing the ball in a vicinity where if your receiver doesn't catch it, it's incomplete. So he grew up after that interception, and we did not see those same plays, which we later saw from Jackson Dart, who's supposed to be Heisman top 5 Heisman.
A senior.
Lane Kiffin is your OC. So that's my opening preamble there.
No, that's great, man. I totally agree. DJ Lagway didn't like his in these previous couple games. Yeah, he's been playing great, but like you said, he had those 1 or 2 passes a game where he throws it over the middle, and there's a dropping linebacker because he reads high to low. He doesn't see that linebacker dropping back. Which, by the way, Ole Miss did not do a lot in this game, which was really, really weird. I don't know if you saw that.
Wow.
It's like you take advantage of the young guy, and they did not. So their defensive coordinator. I don't know what's going on over there. But just a horrible game plan by them. But yeah, like you said, DJ willing to take those sacks, willing to take the loss of yardage, and it still sucks that for some reason in college football, sacks count as rushes. I think that's the dumbest stat ever. The NFL doesn't do it. Why are we doing it? It doesn't make any sense to me. Because DJ ended the game with -5 yards on 5 attempts, but he had a couple, one or two rushes in this game that came in big moments. He had a first down on a big time one, which he did really well with. And oh my God, I forgot what drive exactly it was, but there was a drive where there was 2 times where Walter Nolan had this guy literally wrapped up, and he did a little pass to Badger and one other pass as well, and he gets the ball out of his hands. I do not know how this guy does it. When he's scrambling, he's keeping his eyes down the field, and when he's getting tackled and brought to the ground, he's keeping his eyes down the field. That's unbelievable, man. That you don't see that from a senior quarterback, as we know with Jackson Dart, yet alone see it from a guy that just played high school football a year ago. It is unbelievable what this kid's doing. And yeah, I mean, 10 of 17, 180 yards, 10 yards a pass, 2 touchdowns and 1 interception. I mean, obviously not forcing the ball down the field like he has in the past few games. This just seemed like a more relaxed DJ Lagway. Instead of being like big play, big play, big play, it was like, okay, you know what? I'll hit this underneath guy. You know what? I'll hit this screen. You know what I mean? I'll hit this little slant, whatever it was. He took it. He took what the defense gave him in a lot of situations, and then he took that big deep shot to DK later on in the game that really helped line up. We got one literally, and it was a beautiful ball by him, and obviously that led to the touchdown. You know what I mean? And then we were up 24-17. So I mean, just an unreal game. Just a very, very patient DJ Lagway is what we saw against Ole Miss, man. And by the way, we got to remember, this is a freshman quarterback. The world is on his shoulders. You know what I mean? He has to lead his team to a bowl game. Everyone's watching. The crowd's chanting DJ Lagway every single time he steps out on the field. This kid's younger than me. You know what I mean? Like that's crazy to think about. His mindset is so awesome. He goes to the podium at the end of the game, steps up and says, they asked him about the chance and everything, and he was like, that doesn't mean anything to me. You know what I mean? It's this group of guys, it's this head coach, it's these staff members. And it's just like he doesn't get caught up in the moment. You know what I mean? He's really staying present. And so yeah, great game by DJ. Montrell Johnson comes back in this game and dominates. Early on, looked a little slow at the beginning of the game. I didn't know what was going on there. And then something got in him where he was like, all right, let's turn up. And then, had like a 18-yard rush. I forgot exactly. 16-yard rush where he's carrying guys for like another 5 yards. You know what I mean? Running over dudes. Like, he was feeling good. Jaden Ball as well, a few good rushes. And obviously the screen pass that he caught ran it in, the 20-yard screen play. Which the blocking, Damian George, where has this guy been? He has not been this consistent all year and comes in and just plays a great game. I think he had one holding call in this game, but on that play in particular as well, gets out, hits that DB, gives Jaden Ball a hole, and, Ball is obviously going into the end zone. Jacoby Jackson got a few touches here, and yeah, the receivers, man, all did really well. Jaquavian Frazier's catches a ball. I haven't seen him in a long time. That was really cool to see him, have a little 14-yard completion. But yeah, man, I mean, just an unreal game by this offense. DJ did have a lot of pressure on him, but listen, you're going against, the best pass rush team in the country, statistically, literally the best pass rush team, the team with the most sacks. Like, they're used to getting back there. And I don't know if you have this stat, EJ, but did Florida have more sacks than Ole Miss in this game? Because I know we had, what was it? I know Sapp had 1 sack, and I know Caleb Banks had 2.5. So we might have had more sacks than Ole Miss in this game.
Yeah, I think when we're looking at this game, Florida, I believe, had 3 total sacks to Ole Miss's 1, technically.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
Which is wild because I think they came in leading the SEC with like over 40 sacks.
It's insane.
Wild.
It was the sacks per game was unbelievable. And this defense stepped up, which, like you said, we'll talk about them later. So technically Ole Miss had 3 sacks. We had 4.
So, but we did have more sacks than them.
Which is
So there
crazy.
you
That's crazy, man.
go.
That's unbelievable. And I want to talk about one play in particular, and then we can start getting into the specifics. Look, I think Napier called a good game today. I think we got to give him
Yeah.
credit. Or yesterday, he called a good game.
Yep.
He had that weird screw up at the end of the game where he gave the ball back to Ole Miss 2 times, which I know we'll talk about that. But the only play I did not like in this game was when it was a third down and we had Montrell Johnson out at wide receiver, and we do a little 5-yard slant to Montrell against their best cover corner. Now here's what I don't understand. And I was texting EJ this, and I was so mad in the moment. But why in the world are you going at their best cover corner on a slant, number one, right, on a third down? And number two, why are you having a running back go on him? That's what I don't get at all. So that was really weird. Because listen, that was a big screw up by the defense. You know what I mean? Because if you have your best DB on a running back and they go to DK or Badger on the outside against your safety or your third best cornerback, that's a great matchup for the Florida Gators. So if you're Billy Napier, why are you not taking advantage of that? Just something that I was really frustrated with. I don't know if that was a DJ. I know the other guys were running routes. I don't know if they were dummy routes or what. I don't know if it was a design pass to go to Montrell. It definitely looked like that. Or if it was DJ Lagway saying, okay, pre-snap read, I want to hit this. I don't know what it was. But either way, I was not happy with that decision. But other than that, great. I mean, this game was called really well, except for the last, 4 minutes where it was
Yeah.
you're giving Ole Miss way too many opportunities to come back and tie it late.
100%.
So EJ, how do you feel about the game plan coming into this game? How do you feel about the situational? What moments, you can talk about moments? What moments jumped out at you from this offensive performance by Florida?
Yeah, so I think you and I talked about this going into the game. We would need to be able to, it could not be like a LSU game where they have 90 something plays, 40 minutes, time of possession. We needed to make this game look like the Ole Miss versus LSU game, as opposed to or Kentucky game, as opposed to the Ole Miss Arkansas game, where they're just scoring at will, and we're just not able to score as many points. And so the game plan to beat Ole Miss was complementary football, which was what uh, uh, Billy Napier talks about, and finally getting a win on special teams. So the biggest play to me of the game, even though it was kind of not sort of disguised, was the muff punt early in the game, where when's the last time we got a special teams play went our way? I
Yeah.
mean, maybe the last one of the other games, but like you play Kentucky, we're doing great, we're winning, boom, 99-yard kickoff return for a touchdown. And I'm just like, now it's only a touchdown. Like, what the hell? But we started the game off not able to get a first down, and we were able to luckily stop them. But when we did the punt, they muffed it. We got it back. We were able to get a field goal. That's a huge, huge, huge game flow trajectory of the game completely changed in that moment, because at that point, if Ole Miss catches that punt and bing bang boom touchdown 7-0, we have not really played very well when we're behind. We've played really well when we're the first team to throw the first punch. Actually, I think, did we score a field goal off of that, or did we score a touchdown? I
I, I
don't
th- I
remember.
I thought we got a touchdown off of that, but maybe not.
No, I think we did get a touchdown, but I think maybe we had to punt. I'm not sure, because I think the first touchdown was the Badger catch, actually.
Yes,
Um,
yes.
yeah, yeah, things are. But to me, that was the biggest play of the game to just set things neutral, to keep Ole Miss off the field. That was huge. When you look at some of these key stats, um, Ole Miss is giving up 13 points a game. They're giving up 79 yards rushing. And we're able to come in and double up the points effectively that they gave up. Points per play in this game. Points per play is not really a stat that's talked about a lot, but it talks about your efficiency with the ball. Ole Miss had a nation leading 0.18 points per play given up on defense. And for context, when we played LSU and we had 92 plays, and they only scored 16 points, that was our season. That was our best performance from a scoring defense standpoint, 0.17 points per play given up. Their Ole Miss's season average was our best performance of the year.
It's insane.
So we came out and we had 0.39 points per play in this game to Ole Miss's 0.22. So we outscored them per play almost 2-1. So every play that we ran had a 2-1 value from a point standpoint than them. One issue that we do have is, and the stat that I was looking up is also average field position, which is highly correlated with your points per play. In the LSU game, we dominated average starting field position. I think we were like starting at our own 38.
Yeah.
LSU started at their own like 18. So that 20 yards is a huge difference when you're talking about you only run like 60 plays and they're running 90 something plays. So it's huge. From a time of possession standpoint, we were able to possess the ball almost 50-50 in this game, keep our defense fresh, keep keep the rotation going on the defensive side of the ball. And a key point in this game also early was Aaron Gates going out, which I'm like, oh man, what's going on? He's our best player. I hate to see that. And I haven't seen a report. We'll see, hopefully it's just a sprain. But when he went out, I was like, oh dang, man, what the heck? But we really didn't need him that much because Ole Miss doesn't really throw a lot of short passes, which is what he's good at defending. They throw down the field. And you ended up having really good game from guys like Bryce Thornton and Sharif Denson. They ended up Dijon Johnson. Those guys stepped up in critical moments, obviously at the end to get those interceptions. But we didn't put those guys in bad positions to just get burned all day. Even though we had to give up something because it's when you're playing Ole Miss, you have to pick your poison. It's like, okay, do we try to stop the run? Okay, over the top. Do we try to stop the pass? Okay, quarterback run. So it's kind of like you gotta figure something out. So I thought the defensive game plan was good enough so that you slowed their rate of scoring so that when DJ had the ball, there wasn't all this pressure on him to be perfect on every possession, to have to score every time he had the ball, because that's when people start to think about, oh, well, maybe DJ's not the greatest. But when he can play, when there's no pressure on him to be perfect every drive, to hit every pass, to do the, to be, Superman out there, that's when he's sort of in his groove. And so that's why this was complimentary football. It was Jackson Dart, on the other hand, who late in the game, he was put in the position where everything was on him. He had to be the one to be the hero, and he crashed and burned with the. I mean, he
Three
threw three
times.
interceptions on that last drive, and then it's like, okay, did we actually catch this one? So, so so we never put DJ in that position, which is so important for a true freshman quarterback. So the defense really answered the bell on that one. The only other key stat in this game was third down conversions. We basically, coming off that LSU game, they were, if every play was third down, like we said, it would have been 45-0 LSU. But we fixed it late in the game. I think they were 10 of their first 14. There were 2 of their last 10 in that game. And that second half performance against LSU on third down carried over into this game. Ole Miss only converted 30% of their third downs. We actually converted 47% of our third downs, which kept the ball, kept us going, kept time of possession, we're wearing down the Ole Miss defense. And Jackson Dart doesn't have, that's one less opportunity he has. The only other thing that I'll say is the running back by committee was great. I mean, Montrell Johnson obviously was like, I don't care what's wrong with me. It's senior day. This is my last time in the swamp. Give me the ball. And that's how he ran. He ran like, listen, something is wrong with me. Something wrong with my hip. I don't know I don't even care anymore. I'll get a hip replacement after the game. That's the mentality that drove us to winning this game. We finally saw the wild gator with him running for I was like, where was that? We should have had that in the Texas game instead of snapping it to Warner. So we gave it to Montrell. He ran really hard, and then Ball obviously did his thing. Jackson was sort of the third running back. He didn't really get that many attempts in this game. It was more of a Ball and Johnson combo. But the last thing that I'll say was the screen pass to Ball. I was really happy that play stood, because if you go back and look at the replay, as soon as I saw that play, I was like, oh my God, they're going to call this back. And then like everyone's cheering, they're like, we scored. I was like, it was definitely a block in the back. Like, I think like number 70, I forgot who it was.
Yeah, it was Dixon, I think, right? I don't know.
Yeah, he like, it wasn't egregious, but it was definitely enough to the ref to throw it, because the officials in this game are notoriously horrible. This is like the worst officiating crew in the SEC. And when I saw the ref, I was like, here we go.
Yeah.
Terrible officiating crew. We love tap Jackson Dart on the sideline, and it's 15-yard roughing the passer. I'm like, okay, so the next time, let's get our money's worth and freaking take the guy out. Like, why the hell are you throwing that flag, dude?
Well, you know what's funny is literally later on, because guess what? That was against Bridges, right? Later on, there was a big third down conversion that Jackson Dart, it might have been third down or second down conversion that he did with his legs, and he got the first down because Bridges stopped and let him get the first down because it was right on the sideline, the same exact area. And it's like, if you're Bridges, what do you do in that situation? Do you let him get the first down, or do you give him another 10 yards? It doesn't make any sense.
Right.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
And then the officials, like, we literally tapped him as he was out of bounds, and it's 15-yard penalty. And I'm like, are you kidding me? First of all, they threw a pass, we threw a pass, contact before the ball got there, no flag.
It was insane.
Now obviously it's a bang play, they don't call it, but you could have thrown that flag. But then you're going to throw the illegal whatever, the screen pass to Ball. When that play stood and I saw no flag, I was like, oh, thank God. It's because that was like the one play where I was kind of like, they probably are going to call this back and we're screwed. But they didn't. The officials continued to be terrible, and we got the touchdown, and we held them. So that was great.
Yeah, man. The officials in this game, they really let our boys play, because there was a lot of holding calls against Ole Miss that they just totally did not see, or they just didn't want to throw the flag out too. So the refs did what the refs do. But yeah, man, offensively, the guys dominated. Really, really happy, really proud of them. Just insane. And you mentioned Aaron Gates going out early, and then Sharif Denson coming in and holding that nickel spot down. And he had a good game. Definitely had some busted coverages, but he held his own. This was early on. I believe this was the first drive of the game for Ole Miss. Was it first or second? I think it was the first. And there was a deep shot that they kind of took on, a deep crosser. And instead of going for the interception, this reminded me of the Major Wright 2008. Instead of going for the interception, Sharif Denson was like, all right, I'm going to hit him, and just put his shoulder down and just got that guy. He was on the ground for a hot minute. And I was like, you know what? This is what I love to see, bro. He's setting the tone for the rest of the game. And ever since that play, I was like, okay, this is for real. That was on the first drive. Right after Aaron Gates went out. And I was like, okay, these boys are serious. They know what's going on. And yeah, I mean, you know, I kind of said what I had to say about the offense, so I'm just gonna talk a little bit about the defense here. But yeah, I mean, defensively, man, I mean, just unreal. Ole Miss, 3 of 14 on third down efficiency, and 2 for 4 on fourth down. They put in that big boy, the refrigerator, whatever you want to call him, back there, running back on Wildcat. And this guy he was like 6'6", 325, really hard to bring down. They kept doing like these powers to the outside, off the tackles. And, it works sometimes because he was pretty fast. He was athletic for a big guy, man. But there was some times where, the 2 fourth downs they did not get was because they kept running to the outside when they could have ran up the middle. And even the announcers were saying, yo, you can get that first down really easy if you just, put them up the middle. And only problem was they had Big Dez in the middle, so maybe they didn't know how that was going to go, but
Big Dez,
baby, held his own. But still, though, it was really interesting. And instead, they would run it to the outside. And Cam Jackson had a really good stop against him where Miles Graham, our freshman linebacker, comes in and meets him. And then Cam Jackson just throws that guy to the ground, man. And it was just, they played with aggression. They played with grit. With Gates going out, we have like 6 starting secondary members out. 6. That is insane. It's the equivalent to Oklahoma's 5 to 6 receivers being out just on the other side of the ball. And we had Cormani playing a lot this game as well out there. I mean, literally, when you look at our roster, we were down to our last scholarship players. All the rest of our scholarship players pretty much were out on the field, except for like 1 or 2 in the secondary. That's unbelievable. We had no depth at all. And literally our whole scholarships out there. And we played the bend don't break like Kentucky did, and it worked, right? Like you said, we were playing very soft. We were bailing very early, and we were giving them these underneath 5-yard passes, hitch central out there. And we were like, okay, you know what? Jackson Dart's going to make a mistake. Let's wait for him to make a mistake. And he did. There was drop passes, a lot of drop passes in this game. There's a lot of overthrows in this game because some of these guys were that open. He aimed the football instead of just kind of stepping into the throw. And we got lucky on a lot of these, I will say that. But that's the type of defense we were playing, was this very soft and just wait for them to make a mistake. Because it's almost too good to be true, if that makes sense. So we played the right defense, and I'm really proud of them. Ole Miss, I'm surprised didn't try to run the ball more. They were averaging 4 yards a carry. I thought that was really... They ran the ball a lot. There was 35 rushing attempts, but a lot of that came from Jackson Dart as well, running with his legs. He had a few really big runs in this game for, 20 yards, because we were playing a little bit of man, which I thought was pretty ballsy, but I like it. So they ran the ball. I'm surprised they didn't try to lean on that a little bit more, especially with Jackson Dart missing some of these throws and the wide receivers dropping the ball. I thought that was really interesting. One thing I do want to talk about was the drop pass that they called. It was on the third down, and it was their star receiver.
It was a Ole Miss.
Yeah, with Ole Miss. I like, look. It's
what is the rule?
What's the rule? Because does a wrist count as being down? Because if a wrist counts as being down, then that's a down player, and he's down. But if it doesn't, so then here's the other thing. If your wrist does not count as being down, they said he didn't have possession, but if you have both feet laying on the ground, does that count as possession of the football? Because if not, then it's a drop pass. If so, that's a fumble and picked up by the Gators. So I was just very confused on like what the thought process was there, what the rule. It was very weird. I want to hear your thoughts on that, EJ, and everyone out there. Like, if you know the rules for that, let me know, because it was just, I don't know. It was very weird, very weird.
Yeah. Yeah. So I actually started to look this up like while you and I were texting during the game, and I was kind of like, what the hell? So it says in the rule book, any part of the body other than the foot or hand, if any one of those parts touch the ground, the player is down. So it applies to knee, elbow, hip, etc. So it doesn't explicitly say wrist,
Is that part of the
but
hand?
right, but since the wrist is not, I mean, is the wrist the hand, or are they talking about like the palm of the hand? So they need to go back to the rule book after this play and like put some more specifics in there, because it was clear that based on how they ruled it, that uh uh it was, so they ruled it that it was an incomplete pass, but to me, he definitely caught the ball and had it, and the wrist went down, but I guess they ruled that he did not complete the process of the catch, which I think he got injured, which Ole Miss,
Yeah.
I don't know if this was a karma game for them, but they are always faking injuries to give their team like more time and all that.
Right.
They had several plays where guys I think legitimately got injured,
Yeah.
like the this play, then with their star receiver who came back off an injury, and then they had the DB literally tore his ACL trying to defend Badger touchdown. So that was crazy. But yeah, so that was a weird play. Uh I don't know. They need to look at the rules.
Well, yeah, because here's the thing. Like, like you said, you got to complete the process of the catch, but what is that? Is it taking a step? Is it going, if you don't take a step and you catch it and you fall to the ground, do you have to fully fall to the ground for that to be a completed catch? Because he was in the air and his feet landed on the ground, and then his hand went down with the ball first, and then he got hit, but he had full possession of the ball. His wrist hits, or like his lower hand, I don't know what you want to call it, and then the ball comes out. So like it was just very weird. There were so many different pieces to that, and parts of that call. I don't know.
Yeah, I think typically it's you have to maintain possession through the beginning and the end of the catch. So like if you catch the ball and you clearly catch it and then you hit the ground and the ball jars loose, you didn't complete the process of the
Hmm.
catch. But if you catch it, I've seen a couple times where you catch it, you get a foot down and you go out of bounds, and then like you bobble the ball a little bit. They're like you didn't complete the process of the catch. So you have to like firmly have control. But then there's sometimes like in the end zone where you catch the ball, you have a foot down, and then the guy just immediately drops the ball and it's like, yeah, touchdown. And they rule it a touchdown. So I'm kind of like, okay, yeah, he caught the ball, but what's the difference between you catching it and then within 1 second you just drop it or spike it, and you catch it and then like you accidentally fumble it? You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
so I don't really know, but yeah, that's kind of what the rule is.
Yeah. Uh, so weird. So weird. I don't really. It's very interesting, but which by the way, he was open for like the first like 5 seconds of that play, wide open on that little hitch route, man. And Jackson Dart did not see him. He's looking at the tight end in the flat. He was covered. We did a good job there, and he was just wide open, man. And then threw it super late and allowed time for our safety to get in there and just lay a hit on him, bro. We were hitting so hard in this game. I would love to see it.
I loved it.
It was so good. My offensive key, by the way, was get 280 passing yards. We were 100 under there, and then get 4 yards of carry, and we were 3.8 yards of carry. So I just want to say that because I want to talk about my defensive key, which was hold Jackson Dart to under 300 yards passing, because that happened in his other two losses, and he finished the game with 323 passing yards. Thing is is before that final drive, final two drives that he had, you know what I mean, where he didn't deserve, he was under that 300-yard mark. So our defense actually achieved my defensive key coming into this game, and it's exactly what happened in Ole Miss's two other losses as well. So just a very something I just kind of wanted to touch on real quick because our defense did a pretty good job. Like I said, we got lucky a few times. I mean, there was some miscommunications. There was some drop passes. There was some bad throws. But you need things like that to happen in these big games. It happens in national championship games all the time. Happens in playoff games all the time, right? Sometimes you just need those things to happen. And Florida has been so opportunistic in these past two games against LSU and against Ole Miss, where things have just finally started going our way, and we love to see it. But yeah, other than that, defensively, like I was saying, Sapp had a really good game. Caleb Banks has really been stepping up recently, man. I mean, he's been going absolutely insane. Bryce Thornton is a big topic in this game. 14 tackles. Obviously the interception as well there toward the end of the game, but he did, and I'm glad he had a great game after, because on the opening touchdown of Ole Miss, he let that wide receiver get right behind him and let up that touchdown, and I was like, man, I was going crazy, you know what I mean? I was like, Bryce, what are you doing? And then he finally kind of comes back and plays a good game other than that, but he did let up that big touchdown early on, which I was a little scared about, but he did a really good job bouncing back from that. Bridges, as always, man, they targeted Bridges a lot in this game because they know he's a safety playing a DB. And yeah, I mean, he did play DB at Oregon, I know, for a little bit. But so he is comfortable in that position, but definitely more naturally a safety. And they targeted him a lot in this game. And he had a good little pass breakup and a couple good stops on open field tackles, I would say, because of those hitches. Jack Pyburn, a guy who got a lot of pressure in this game, but just never really got home. That was pretty annoying. Because yeah, man, he had half of a tackle for loss, but he got in the backfield a lot. There was 2-3 plays back to back where they blitzed him on the same exact play on the right edge, and he got back there every single time. Jackson Dart just barely got out of the way just in time, and like we were saying, Caleb Banks, dude, I mean, just absolutely killing it. Tyreek Sapp killing it. Defensive line, the front seven really showed up in this game. The linebackers played one of their best games yet, in my opinion. Just very opportunistic this defense was, and just did amazing on these. When you play a head coach like Lane Kiffin that's going to go for it on fourth down almost every single time, it's scary. And this defense did such a good job, man. When you have a big, 350-pound defensive lineman, running with a ball at you, that's pretty scary. And we did a really good job holding up there. So I'm so proud of this team, man, offensively and defensively.
Yeah, looking at the defensive stats on this game, so we had two players that played every snap in the game: Jordan Castell and Triquez Bridges, who you just talked about. Castell, from a coverage standpoint, not that great, but from a physicality standpoint, is sort of, kind of like a strong safety, hybrid middle linebacker. So he didn't have a great coverage game. Triquez Bridges actually had a phenomenal day covering. He was rated above average. But Bryce Thornton, Dijon Johnson, and Sharif Denson played every snap except for 4 snaps in this game. So they played pretty much the whole game in the defensive backfield. So you got the backfield, people are playing pretty much the entire game. From a linebacker standpoint, Jaden Robinson and Shamar James played about 90% of the snaps in the game. And George Gums also came in, had some great moments in the game. He was a great tackling rate in the game. TJ Searcy also played about 50% of the snaps in the game. Jack Pyburn, who started, I don't know if Pyburn got hurt or if they just noticed something in the game that he wasn't really that effective, because he only got 26 snaps. But one thing that I did notice about Pyburn was late in the game. Um, they had him line up as sort of like an off tackle pass rusher, and they started to bring him blitzing off the edge. And I was like, this is brilliant because the entire game, I'm sitting there thinking to myself, bring a corner blitz, bring an outside linebacker blitz, like force Jackson Dart to run up into the pocket because when he can step back and throw, that's his rhythm, that's his comfort zone. When he has to run up, 80% of the time he's just gonna take off with it,
Hmm.
or he's not gonna know what to do and he's gonna get sacked. And so when we started to bring some pressure off the edge, and I'm happy that they noticed that, that just gives me hope that somebody in the 50 coaches that Napier hired is like, huh, well, maybe if we blitz them off the edge, something will happen. So
Yeah.
it's like, so I was like, okay, thank you. And Pyburn, I think he had a really good like high rating from a rush defense standpoint. Like he got the pressure and he forced Dart to step up into the pocket, which was huge. When you're playing Lane Kiffin, it's like a video game type of offense. Like you have a quarterback that can run and throw. You have a spread offense with 4 or 5 wide receivers, everybody can catch. You have a big ass tight end who can catch over the middle and run somebody over. You're going forward on every fourth down with a D tackle, Pegasus. We were calling Pegasus that you would just turn around and hand the ball. Like it's like you're playing a 9-year-old on Madden. What kind of offense they would play?
Yeah.
And so it's like you have to have a defense that just says, okay, we're going to umbrella you. We can't guard you man to man, or you're going to hit us with these over the top throws, which he still did a couple of times. But we're going to have to figure out how to get pressure with our front four. And uh, I think we were able to do that later in the game. Guys like Caleb Banks, who had a phenomenal game. Cam Jackson had a great game. Um, I even saw Joey Slackman out there. We were like, where the hell's Joey
Yeah.
Slackman?
Yeah. I saw that too.
He was out there chasing people down. I was
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
okay, okay. And George Gums, I'm telling you, you mentioned him last week, and so I was kind of looking for him this week. Um, because Pup Howard is still out, they put George Gums in there to say, hey, is this your moment? This dude is chasing people down like his hair's on fire. And I'm like, where has this been? Because normally when we pull somebody off the bench, they're just out there like, huh?
Yeah.
But they actually told him, hey, get out there and freaking chase someone down. And that's exactly what he did, and it was phenomenal. The only other thing that I'll say is yes, Dart got over um uh uh 300 yards passing, but only for the first time since the Kentucky game was he held below the his yards per pass number, which was 11. He was coming in 11 yards per pass. He got 7.6, which is 30% lower than his season average. Kentucky was the only other team that was able to do that. So I think there was something with how Rob Roberts and Austin Armstrong kind of queued up the defense to make him uncomfortable. Um, Not having a Quinshon Judkins for Ole Miss kind of hurts them a little bit because you can kind of tell they went away from the run, which even late in the game, now they had to burn all their timeouts because Billy Napier, again, I was like, Billy, we got to get this first down, dude. If we don't get this first down and we give them the ball back with a minute to go and we lose this game, I'm
Yeah.
gonna freaking jump through the. Good thing this place doesn't have windows because it's all. Cause I would have freaking jumped through the window. I was like, what the hell,
Yeah.
dude?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
we need a first down. He's like, well, let's run the ball right up the middle and force them to call their timeouts. I'm like, freaking get the first down. But anyway, um, defensively, if we didn't have a solid game that forced them to have longer drives, this team at the end of the day, they scored 3 points in the second half. You're talking about the highest flying. We score 50 points a game. We're putting 50 spot on everybody. The Ole Miss locked on Ole Miss guy is like, yeah, you don't have a chance, Florida. We're gonna score on you. You got 3 points. You got 3 points in the second half, and you were lucky to get that.
Yeah.
You were lucky to get that. So phenomenal defensive performance, complimentary football. I think when you look at this big picture of this Gator defense, um, when DJ Lagway's in the game, and a lot of people kind of you can tell online when Gator fans mention, well, we didn't have DJ in the Texas game, we didn't have DJ in the second half of the Georgia game. People are like, well, we still would have beat y'all anyway. I'm kind of like, your defense, DJ doesn't play defense. I was like, actually, he does, because when he's in the game, the defense, you can tell there's a different attitude. There's a point for of us being out here, because if we can get this stop and give the ball back to DJ, hey, there's a reason we're out here. They play so much harder. And I honestly believe if you were to replay that Texas game and have DJ in the game, Texas may still win, but I can tell you right now, it ain't 42 nothing. Okay? I can tell you that right now. So overall, complimentary football. Trey Smack, we have to continue to give him credit. This kid, this is an NFL kicker. Is he a sophomore? I hope he's a sophomore.
No,
Like,
he's
please.
he's a junior, I believe.
Oh
I know.
no!
I think so. Let me look him up real quick.
Oh, I really hope he can come back, because let me tell you, dude, you're gonna
Yeah.
make your money. He's a junior.
Yep.
Oh hell
And Jeremy Crawshaw's leaving too.
no!
Yeah.
Well, okay, Billy. This is why Billy got the number one 5-star kicker. So
Yep.
I don't know who that kid is, but I hope you can kick.
He
Get
hit
on
like
campus.
he hit like a 62 yarder in game. That's kind of
Who
crazy.
the
This other kid, yeah,
okay,
this new kid,
other kid,
he hit a
whoever you
bomb.
are,
Yeah.
will learn your name. You need to learn how to smack that. Okay? Because Trey Smack, once you get to the 40-yard line, it's like, well, we know we got three. so,
Yeah. Yeah.
so you better stop us from getting to the 40-yard line. So absolutely great game defensively. And then also, when the big Pegasus came in, and it was Pegasus time for Ole Miss, where they put the hog molly in there, it's really a smart play, but the goal is to get him running east to west, so you can chase him down and take his legs down. We were able to do that twice and stop him from converting. That was also the other big play of the game, early in the game, where they got down there, and rather than taking the three, they put big hog molly Pegasus in there to try to get the first down, and we stoned him. So what I really wanted to see was Big Dez versus him. I think we saw it once, and I think Big Dez got a stop there,
Yep.
which was great. But this kid, when they brought him in, they kept showing the stat. He was 15 out of 15 on third and short or fourth and short conversions. He was 2 out of 4 in this game. So this was the first game where he got stoned. So I was really happy to see that. And can we talk about, very quickly before we move on, the Princely Uman Mielen revenge situation? Okay, now just for everyone to know, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on this too, Logan. Okay. When you're one of these young kids, you got to think about the strategy here and the big picture. It's much better to just be respect the team that brought you in, that gave you a chance to make a name for yourself. Okay? All you had to do was just say, which every transfer other than him and ETN, every other transfer has done this. I want to thank Florida for giving me the opportunity. But I'm just going to make a decision that's in my best interest, that's in both teams' best interest, and I'm gonna go to the transfer portal and I wish everyone the best of luck. Okay, that's all you need to say. But he did a whole Swamp Kings interview where it was, well, yeah, when I practiced at Florida, it was like I was on a track team. And I was on a track team, but when I'm at Ole Miss, and yeah, we're cooking now. We're playing defense. Dude, dude, we smashed you. Okay, we ran your ass over. Then you had the audacity to want to start swinging at Gator fans. Dude, you were at UF for 2 years. Okay? You know how we treat opposing teams.
Yep.
All you need to do is keep your head down. But you didn't do it, and you deserved everything you got, my friend. That's just the way the cookie crumbles. I hope you enjoy that NIL.
Yep, he only had 1 sack and 1 solo tackle in this game. And he left the game early with the 24 seconds left. Went out of gate 18, which I don't know what that was about. That's that back gate, and it was very weird. I don't know why they took him out that way, why he didn't go straight into the locker room, because he went around to the locker room on the other side where the buses are. It was so weird. He went around and down instead of going straight through the tunnel. So
Did he have the ski mask off by then?
He did. He did. But yeah, there's a video of him walking out. He actually tweeted this morning just saying that, he loves Florida and that, he's sorry. He said that fans were just recklessly yelling at him, that his intention was never going to be to swing on someone. And I'm like, come on, bro. Like, that you're trying to apologize for that. And I agree. He was so nasty to the team that put him on the map. Same thing with ETN. And both of those guys did not have any revenge game in this game at all.
No.
They both, ETN got injured, went out early, wasn't even really playing that great up to that point. And then Princely, obviously, you heard his name get called one time, and that was it. Walter Nolan got called more in this game.
Walter Nolan.
He was all over the place.
He was the man.
Yeah.
We need a Walter Nolan. Can I just say that? We need a Walter Nolan next year. Now, Banks and Jackson are great. Get us a Walter Nolan in that portal.
Yep. He had 3 tackles for loss in this game. Unbelievable, man. 3 tackles for loss in this game. 1 sack and 7 solo tackles. He was everywhere.
He was a wrecking crew.
You literally could not. And for some reason, we kept trying to run to him, which wasn't very smart. And every time we didn't really go really well, did it? Because he is an absolute menace on that line for them, man. So NFL level guy for sure.
100%.
But yeah, I mean, just, that was a very funny situation. And then the Gators, obviously used their basketball hoop to dunk a little bit at the end of the game, which is really funny. They had their little, scoring basketball hoop that they dunk on, and the Gators put their logo on it and were dunking on it. It was great, man. It was amazing. So yeah, man, just energy around this game was amazing. So proud of this football team, and yeah, I mean, Billy Napier, his on the field post game interview was one of my favorite interviews I've seen from a Florida head coach in a long time.
Yeah,
he was very emotional, and just he loves his team, he loves his program, and he wants to win. So I think that recruits are going to see that. I think recruits are going to see Ole Miss fall apart. They're going to see they're seeing Alabama fall apart. They're seeing
Georgia not be what it used to be.
Exactly.
Tennessee a little slow.
Yep. Everything is Miami, a team that, listen, they have to go to Syracuse this weekend. If somehow Syracuse can pull that off, I think you're also looking at Miami struggling. Florida State is what it is. UCF's not good. This can be our state. And if Florida gains this state back, it's over. It's over.
And Miami is a one-man crew right now.
It's just Cam Ward, dude.
They're Cam Warding.
Yeah. And he's going to be gone. So
yeah, he's gone next year.
And my dad brought this up. They have no one behind him at all. So you're going to have to go to the transfer portal, which is as we know is a toss-up, right? You don't know who the hell you're going to get out of a quarterback in the portal. So that's going to be interesting. But yeah, man, Florida wins 24-17. Insane game. Anything else you wanna say on this game, EJ, that jumped out?
Yeah, just big picture, just Billy Napier's post game interview. I thought that was great that you mentioned that. It at the end of the day, um, winning is the result of whatever foundation that you're trying to build, right? And but fans, they don't see everything that that foundation is made of, right? We don't see the relationships between the coaches and the players. We don't see what the guys do, day in, day out to prepare. We don't see the countless hours that Napier, which I'm sure he puts in, and the coaches put in to investing in the program and the players. We only see what's on the field. And let's continue we're seeing a trend right now that you've had two big wins in a row. We've had a couple other big wins earlier this year. We're seeing a trend. Let's see if we can continue to, like you said wonderfully earlier, let's see if, we can follow through and finish as opposed to falling flat on our face. Let's see if we can carry this momentum and continue going. That's what I think Billy Napier, that's why he became emotional, because he knows he put in a lot of work. People weren't really appreciative. We weren't. I know I wasn't appreciative because I
Me
was kind of
neither.
like, dude, can you freaking win a game here? Like, we got a top 10 roster technically, from the recruiting rankings. We ought to be looking better than this. And it's taken a while. I think there was a lot of wild cards thrown in with NIL and transfer portal that we kind of lose track of because we think, well, everyone else is dealing with this, so you should be able to deal with it too. And he's been able to finally get this team in a position where it believes in itself. People are playing hard. We're seeing less and less of the blunders. And then to actually see a big time win. And I honestly think this is probably the biggest win. It's not the highest ranked win, technically. Believe it or not, the highest ranked win was the very first game that he coached,
Number
which Utah
7.
was ranked number 7.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, but to me, it's the biggest win
Yeah.
because we were the biggest underdog in this game. Typically, we don't win games when we're the underdog. Um, and Ole Miss was riding high. People weren't giving us a chance. SEC Nation and then College Game Day, they went like 0 and 8 on the picks. They all 8 of them picked Ole Miss.
Yeah.
Um, so I think when you look at this big picture, can Billy Napier's foundation, is it built now? And we're just seeing the result. Hopefully that will continue. Um, and let me tell you something. This week, when we play Florida State, and I know we're about to talk about that game. This is what we're all talking about. Like, can we maintain the energy, the momentum, the solid play going up against a team that now we're expected to beat? Because back a year ago, I remember we went to Vanderbilt. Oh, we're gonna win this game. Vanderbilt doesn't have anybody, and we end up losing. So I know Florida State's a bad team, but from a talent standpoint, pound for pound, man for man, they're still a top 15 roster or whatever it is. So we have to continue that play going into this game and get a big time rivalry win, get one more rivalry win. Because Napier, that's another thing. He never beats the rivals. Can we go 2-2 this year? Hey, we can go 2-2 this year. That's better than 0-10 or whatever we were.
Yeah.
So, so, like, let's keep it going. I'm happy that Billy is able to rest and say, man, this is what I thought we could be, and we're now that. I'd love to see it.
There you go. And that's a great segue. I want to get in the Florida State game, but let me just mention one thing. I do think Billy Napier's building something special, but I think we have to admit that right now, with Graham Mertz, we would have not beat LSU. We would have
Oh,
not beat
oh, yeah.
Ole Miss. We would have lost a few other games. We probably wouldn't have beat Kentucky. So my thing is, we still while we're at a high, while we're feeling good, we have to look at the fact that if Graham Mertz does not get injured, and I'm not saying I'm glad. I'm not saying that he's a great guy. He's great to the program. But Billy Napier did not have the guts to pull the trigger and put DJ at starter. I'm just saying that is something we have to realize, right? That's something we have to look at and see that. I'm not saying we're Miami Cam Ward status. We're nowhere near that. We have so many playmakers on the outside. We have a defense that's stepping up. Because I think DJ Lagway is a better leader than Cam Ward. Why do I say that? Because you're seeing players come around DJ Lagway. He's not in it for himself. He makes the defense play better. You were talking about energy, EJ, even statistically. Statistically, the Gators are playing way better on defense than when Mertz was in there. I'm not saying because Mertz is not a good leader, but DJ brings this energy, this young energy, this any play can be a touchdown energy that I think is huge. So I'm just saying, we have to look at Billy Napier and say, when we look at this season as a whole, and I think people will come to this at the end of the year when they look back on the season, that 2-quarterback system was an absolute joke. That's the reason we got destroyed by Miami. That's the reason we got destroyed by Texas A&M. And not starting Lagway early on is the reason we lost to Tennessee. So if DJ starts this whole year, let's say those first 2 SEC games, or the Miami game and the Texas A&M game's a loss, we could be a 3-loss team right now. Because I agree, EJ. I think we still lose against Texas, but I think it's a close game. I think we beat Georgia. I think we beat Tennessee. We're a 3-loss team. We're 8-3 going into this week against FSU, possibly 9-3 on the SEC championship. Cusp. We're right there at it, but we're not going to make it if something crazy happens. But we're probably a playoff team. We probably sneak in the top 12 and make the playoffs with 3 losses, because those losses wouldn't be as bad either, right? With Texas A&M and Miami. So I'm just saying, I do want to acknowledge what Billy Napier's done. I think he's a phenomenal head coach. But going forward, and listen, maybe it's because Graham Mertz held back his play calling, right? And he wasn't able to take those deep shots and run his offense. Because listen, maybe we talk so bad about Billy Napier's play calling and how he would run the ball in like 3rd and 8, and not get 2 yards and whatever. It's like he didn't trust his quarterback. So listen, maybe that's what it is. Maybe it's not a bad play caller. Maybe it's the quarterback situation. But then my question is, why then did he not start DJ earlier? Even if he's making mistakes in practice, he gives you a higher chance for bigger plays. With those highs of highs comes the lowest of lows. That does happen. DJ, I guarantee, would have struggled early on heavily, right? Especially against Texas A&M, when it's like his 3rd game. But you have to take that, it's going to be a hard conversation to sit there with Graham Mertz and be like, hey, man, I think we're making – I honestly feel like he just didn't want to have that conversation. And that is something that I know everyone's sold on Billy, and I do really think, he obviously needs to come back as head coach of next year for the Florida Gators. But you have to also look at that. And I think that's something that is bugging me a little bit, going into this offseason. So do I think Billy Napier needs to hire an OC? Well, now from what it's looking like, no, because he has a quarterback that he's comfortable with play calling. But what happens again if we get in a situation where we might not have that quarterback he's comfortable with? What happens in that situation 3 years from now when DJ Lagway is in the NFL? And listen, we have, Terrell and a couple other good guys coming in at quarterback. But I'm just saying, what if he gets a guy he's not comfortable with? Again, where are we at then? I just want to bring that up. Just something I want to bring up. I'm not trying to be like the, bringing everyone down guy. But it's just, it's something I think we need to look at, going forward here into the offseason. And why I think an offensive coordinator might still be a good move for Billy Napier. Anyways, do you have any thoughts on that, EJ, before we dive into the FSU game?
Yeah, I 100% agree with your assessment. It's definitely objective, and you got to call a question, right? It's almost like the Felipe Franks Mullen situation. Like if he didn't get injured and we didn't have Trask, what the hell, Mullen? But I think my theory on it, I think you're absolutely right, is that Napier knew all along that Lagway is the future, but he wanted to protect Lagway through Mertz. And Mertz is kind of like, is okay with that because Mertz knows, okay, look, I'm a senior. It is what it is. I'm trying to make the NFL. Can I play a little bit? And knowing that Lagway and Mertz are actually, I think they're roommates or something like that. Like they're really good friends. Um, Napier was hoping that Mertz, his leadership, his composure, Lagway could learn from that, and that Mertz could sort of. I think Napier was really hoping and crossing his fingers that Mertz would be better than what he was early in the season. He was banking on Mertz actually being a lot better and DJ to play a lot, but Mertz to not look as bad against Miami as he did. And as that started to unravel, it's kind of like then Napier made the decision to, okay, well, now let's go 50-50. Like you come out, you go in type of chaos. But I do think that Napier tried to shield DJ through Mertz, and I don't think Mertz was really good enough to do that. And so now you're forced to put DJ in there. So I kind of see that's how it went. Um, because you're absolutely right. Like Mertz, we love Mertz. He's a good guy. He, solid quarterback in a backup role. Like if he was the backup to DJ, I'd be like, okay, we got a good situation here.
Yep.
But he just never gave you that chance to really threaten defenses. Like defenses were kind of like if it was like you said, Mertz versus Ole Miss, they're in the backfield 24/7 in that game. They're like Lagway was like Ben Roethlisberger back there. Like you can't sack him. He's gonna find a way to get up in there and
Yeah.
dump it off. People were like, he's Mahomes. I'm like, well, is he Mahomes? He's kind of more like Roethlisberger to me, like his size and his pocket composure. Like he is strong in the pocket. Like he's not as quick as Mahomes. Um, he's ball strong like Roethlisberger,
Mm.
but he's got like a Dan Marino deep ball.
Yeah.
So he's kind of like he can really be his own category. Like people won't even people will compare to him. Uh, but that's how I think I think he was trying to let Mertz protect DJ because if you put DJ in too quick and he makes mistakes, people are gonna, fans, they're gonna say, "Well, DJ sucks. We gotta get he's not the answer." And so I think Napier was trying to like prevent that from happening.
Mm-hmm.
But the issue was Mertz was just not good enough relative to our schedule.
Right.
Like you need a really good quarter. Look at the schedule.
Yeah.
Like we just literally played a playoff gauntlet. Like
Yeah.
you will not have 4 tougher games in the playoff than what we just played.
Nope.
Ole Miss, LSU, Texas, Georgia. That's the playoff. So you need a Heisman level quarterback if you're going to go 500 in those 4 games, people. Yeah. Indiana.
Yeah.
Okay, Signetti. Signetti, you gonna win those 4 games? Do we need to Google that? So that's all I gotta say about that.
Yeah, that was nice. That was good. It's a good little sound bite there. Yeah, man. Yeah, I agree. I that's probably where he was coming from. And like you said, Mertz was just not good enough, not efficient enough, didn't scare defenses. Yeah. When they looked at Mertz, they weren't scared. When you look at DJ, you think, oh God, what is he gonna do? You know what I mean?
Like,
he's not even healthy. He's not even healthy, and he's doing this. That's the thing. He doesn't even have his legs back yet. This is insane. This is like
it's insane.
It's scary. His potential, man, is unbelievable.
But it shows how smart he is. Like how brilliant this guy is to say, "Hey, we're gonna take away." it's almost like he's ambidextrous. Like, okay, we took away your right arm. Now you got to do a test with your left arm, and you never even used it.
Yeah.
And he passes the test. So I
As a
mean, he's just
freshman.
incredible. Yeah, as a freshman.
Unbelievable. As I'm flipping to the FSU prep, I saw that my Ole Miss prediction was 34-24 Ole Miss, so I actually got the Gator score right at 24, which is pretty funny. Just not the Ole Miss one.
You always do that though.
Yeah.
You've done that a few times.
Yeah, it's happened a couple of times. It's really funny. So yeah, man, going to what you were talking about though before, EJ. Florida State, a team that you can't overlook with this game, man. Florida's playing Florida State either at 7 or 7:30. I don't think they picked a time yet. It's going to be a night game at Doak Campbell Stadium. I think they're still making renovations, so that's one bad thing. I'm going to be there, so I don't know if it's going to be super crowded. But I expect a lot of Gator fans to show up with me. It's going to be a good time. It's going to be cold, man. Kickoff's going to be around like 50 degrees. It's going to be no joke. It's going to be chilly. Not looking forward to that. But yeah, look, Florida State, a team that just is coming off of a monster win. It's a huge win for Florida State. Charleston Southern, a big time win for them. Let's see their, I got it somewhere right here.
Oh yeah, the stats, man, these do not look good for the Noles.
Not at all. Yeah, listen, they come off of a big win. Charleston Southern 41-7. They come off of a 1-10 Charleston Southern. So they handed them their another loss right there. For some reason on Google, Florida State's ranked number 10 right now. That's really funny. But yeah, Florida State comes into this game, man. Look, just a brutal year. They had one loss. They were 1-9 coming into this game. And their one win being over Cal really early on in this season. And then ever since then, I mean, you look at their schedule, man, just falling apart. They start off a big loss against Georgia Tech, man. Everyone had Florida State winning that game. It was in Dublin, I believe. I watched this game. Unbelievable loss by them. DJ Uga, I don't know, how do you say his name? Do you know how to pronounce it?
DJ Uwe Ungalale.
Ungale. We'll call him. Yeah. We'll call Florida State
ukulele.
DJ. Yeah, ukulele. Yeah. The "you need to get a job" memes were really messed up. Yeah. So Florida State loses to Georgia Tech 21-24, and then we have DJ. Florida State's DJ play a lot of games. They get the win over California, which DJ plays in, which, by the way, wasn't a bad win. California is actually a sneaky team, so that was a good win by them. And then, yeah, they play SMU, Clemson back-to-back. DJ goes out, and then you had these two new quarterbacks come in. You have Brock Glenn, who played last year, and then you have Luke Cromenhook, who's a true freshman quarterback for Florida State. They've both been getting a lot of different, a lot of playing time, kind of back and forth. But in the final two games, it looks like I don't know. It looks like Brock Lynn's probably going to be their number one guy coming into this game, just because with his more experience. Even though Luke Cromenhook did get the majority of the snaps against Charleston Southern, so I don't know who's going to be the starter on Saturday, but I do expect both quarterbacks. Florida State, when you look at their year, I mean, God, they don't really have any bright spot. I mean, we look at especially if you look at their PFF scores. I mean, I don't even know what I would point at that is probably their best ability. They cannot, on offense, they cannot run the ball consistently. They cannot pass the ball consistently. Their run block is horrible. Their pass block is horrendous at times. That's honestly probably their best grade, I would say, is probably pass block, which probably averages out at around 62 on PFF, which is horrendous. And then defensively, man, their run defense is so bad, man, which is a great sign for the Florida Gators. Their pass coverage as well is horrendous, especially down the field. So yeah, I mean, just no bright spot for the Florida State Seminoles, which is crazy because when you look at their roster, like EJ was saying, they are a top-ranked roster when it comes to talent. I mean, they have guys everywhere that you know their names. It's just that they cannot find anything. It's deeper than just like the fact that they went to the portal and got guys. It's like the whole team's falling apart. Like from the top down, there's just no energy there. There's no teamwork. There's no chemistry. It just feels like everyone's playing individually, not doing their job, right? And it's terrible. So before we get into all the specifics, EJ, how do you feel about this Florida State team? Um, Obviously we hate Florida State, but yeah, man, tell us a little bit about how you're feeling with this one.
Yeah, it's we do hate Florida State. It's almost the antithesis of what you see Florida playing for when they play with DJ Lagway. Like they're playing for something. They got energy. They, are playing hard. It's the opposite with Florida State. It's almost like the mirror, like antimatter matter. Like that's literally the Florida State team just does not play with any energy, with any effort, with any purpose whatsoever. A lot of the Florida State fans, and me growing up in Tallahassee, I have a lot of FSU fans. They're all ready for Norvell to go, even a year removed from being ACC champs and 13-0. Um, I, this is one of those turnarounds that you just can't explain. DJ Uiagalelei came in from Oregon State. He originally was at Clemson. He wasn't a great quarterback, but he was kind of like a Felipe Franks, like not an awful quarterback, but somebody that you should have been able to, you shouldn't be 2-10. Now I know he's out for the year, but they would still be 2-10 if he was in there.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So I don't understand how, yeah, Jordan Travis was great. He was at FSU for 3 years. He was a solid quarterback. There's some sort of infrastructural, that foundation that we talked about with Billy Napier, building that thing
Mm-hmm.
so that finally the wins can start to show. And you got your franchise quarterback with Lagway. Uh, it's like not only did you not really ever have a foundation with Mike Norvell, which is clear and evident, is you no longer have a franchise quarterback. Like Brock Glenn and Hammond Rourke. How do you say that? Croman Hook.
Croman Hook.
Luke. We'll just say
Yeah.
Luke. Lukey.
Lukey.
These two guys are good, but I mean they're decent backups. Like they're better than Aiden Warner. If you had to put Aiden
Yeah.
Warner in there, they're better than him. But when there's a complete mistrust of the system by all these players, it's almost like a Dan Mullen situation with Norvell. So, from a statistical standpoint, this is like the worst team we've played. Defensively, they've only generated 5 turnovers. They've only forced 5 turnovers the entire season against their opponents, which is that just shows like turnovers. Sometimes they're lucky, sometimes they're not, but they're more than likely a indicator of how physical you're playing, how much effort you're playing with, and more than anything. And to only have 5 turnovers is dismal. The 10 that you saw when you saw FSU's ranked 10, that's actually their strength of schedule. Believe it or not, that
Mm.
somehow ESPN says that they've played the 10th strength of schedule in the country. But I think it has to do with your opponent's win percentage, and then is 2/3 of it, and the other third is your opponent's win percentage. So FSU has played some decent records. Like Miami's basically almost undefeated. SMU, I think SMU's only lost one game.
Yeah.
Clemson's only lost 2 games. So when you look at the win-loss of all these teams, they've played a good schedule. Uh, the one team on their schedule that is most similar to Florida when we look at the comparables is really SMU from just an offensive ability to hit big plays. Um, but the thing with SMU is defensively, our defense is better than theirs. So so not only do you have an offense that can be explosive against their defense, but now you have a defense that's not going to give up anything against you. So so the question in this game is going to be, can Florida block out we're the greatest thing since sliced bread, since we just had 2 ranked wins, and we're going to be playing a terrible team and we should win easily and we don't even need to practice. Can we block all that out, go to this game with the mentality that FSU has beaten our ass 3 years? Is it 3 years in a row? 2 years in a row?
Uh, Napier hasn't beaten FSU.
And Napier hasn't beaten FSU. Okay. The last time we beat them, I think, was the Damian Pierce running in the end zone without a helmet game.
2021.
Anyone, anyone remembers that one?
2021. Yeah. Yep.
That's what it. Damian
Yep.
Pierce had to win the game. He was like, I don't need a damn helmet. Kind of like Jackson
Oh,
Dart didn't have a helmet.
yeah, that's the year we were both fighting for, or no, was it last year that we were both fighting for bowl? No. Yeah, it was 2021. We were both fighting for bowl eligibility. And we were both 5-6 going into that game. And yeah, Damian Pierce without the helmet. That's crazy.
Yeah, Damian Pierce without the helmet. That's the last time we beat them. So, so now they didn't beat our ass, quote unquote, the last couple of years. I mean, it was relatively a close game last year. If Mertz was then not injured, maybe we win. The year before that, it was back and forth.
Well,
But
I was there. That was a crazy game. Yeah.
Jordan Travis broke 8 tackles on one play, like you said,
Oh,
and that was the reason we lost that game. But here's the thing. Can the defense go into this game with the mentality, we do not want to give them anything? This game is going to be one with the defense. DJ Lagway is going to get his. This Florida State defense statistically it's like they don't even show up. And the thing about this team that you've noticed, when the game first starts, as soon as one thing goes bad for the defense, it's just like they fall apart. So can DJ make good decisions? Can they get him, get him going? And then can the defense come out, and whoever they have at quarterback, they're going to start putting anybody back there. Lukey, Brock Glenn, it doesn't matter. We have played basically 4 straight, literally Heisman level people at the quarterback position the last 4 games. You're gonna go off a cliff when you look at the FSU quarterback situation. You do not want to play a game where now all of a sudden you're making these people look like Tom Brady out there. You want to actually go and get yours. So this game is all about mentality. Have you ever watched a movie called Little Giants?
no. I've not.
Dude,
I know.
Okay, so when I was a kid, that was literally I gotta send you the link.
For sure, man.
Because you would like this. You would like
Okay.
this. Little Giants. Man, I know every line from the movie. It came out in like the late 90s.
It sounds familiar, man.
Just a great family movie, like wonderful movie for like the holidays if anybody wants to watch a good like old school movie. But I never forget they're playing, and the guy on the line is like, football is 80% mental, 40% physical. And so they're just like, Okay, that's definitely more than 100. But you get the point.
Yeah,
Like
yeah, yeah,
it's a majority mental.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And when you look at this, this is what this game is. Like Florida State is mentally checked out.
Mhm.
Now they should be coming in this game fresh because you had a bye week, then you just played Charleston Southern. So you basically had a month off. Florida has played a playoff schedule 4 games in a row. We're beat, battered, bruised. Florida State should, in theory, be really, really fresh for this game. So it's mentality. Can Florida's mentality still be we are the dog and we're about to take this state over? And every recruit that is committed to FSU, y'all need to know, y'all better be prepared that y'all are about to get dog walked 4 years in a row if that's the decision you're going to make. And FSU is kind of like, man, can this season just end? Let me collect my NIL and go home.
Mm-hmm.
That's the mental. So it's a mental game. But yeah, you gotta watch Little Giants. I think you really like.
I got you, brother. Yeah, no, I just looked it up. Yeah, it came out in '94. John Madden's in it. No, I've seen I've seen clips. I've definitely seen clips. That's funny.
It is hilarious.
Excuse me. Yeah, it's great. You mentioned something. The fact that Florida State's pretty much had 2 bye weeks, that makes the Ole Miss and LSU game, by the way, so impressive for Florida. The fact that they both had bye weeks coming into those games and we dominated like that, unreal. But yeah, man, Florida State, like you said, man, it's all mental. It's all mental because Florida, I believe, is let me look at it. I think they're a 13.5-point favorite on FanDuel, I think. But yeah, like we're favored by a lot. Probably the highest favorites we've had all season, except for Samford. I'm assuming. You know what I mean? So this is huge for us, man. So can the Gators stay mentally there? It's funny because like I'm thinking, man, this is a trap game to the max. You know, the Gators
to the max.
Like the Gators have made a bowl game now. They're not really fighting for anything if you think about it, except the logo itself and their spirit. And I'm like, man, Florida State has nothing to lose. Literally, what do they have to lose? They're going to come in this game with all the plays that they've had saved up for certain moments. They're going to show us everything. They're going to do fake punts. They're going to go for it on 4th down. They're going to go crazy. And our defense has to be ready for everything, man. Trick play central. That's going to be crazy. These guys are going to be running hard. They're going to take shots deep. They're going to test the secondary. They're going to play aggressive. So I say that, but then I also look at these stats, and they're just so bad. They're just so bad that it's like I cannot see DJ Lagway not having a typical DJ Lagway stat of like 10 for 20, but not having like 300 yards passing down the field. Like honestly, like their secondary is so bad. Like you said, they cannot generate turnovers. They're negative 12 on the year for their turnover ratio, which is insane. That's got to be one of the worst in the country. They have more interceptions than passing touchdowns this year combined, by the way, for all their quarterbacks. It's so bad. It's like 11 of 13. They're a bad football team, man. But I mean, think about App State and Michigan, a long time ago that they weren't a good team. Think about Georgia Southern coming into the Swamp and beating the Gators. They were not a good team. So it's like anything can happen, and this is a very scary game. And it's so funny, EJ, because think about it. Since doing this podcast, we haven't had a single game that was like an easy game, if that makes sense. And now that we're kind of getting a quote-unquote easy game after having, being like, well, I don't know if we're going to win this one. This is going to be a neck and neck. It's like, it doesn't feel right. And for some reason, something's telling me that this is going to be a really hard-fought game throughout this game. I don't like it.
It's a rivalry. It's a rivalry. Throw the records out.
Yeah. I'm scared, man. I'm going to be there. So I'm a little worried, but I mean, like I said, like let me dive into some of the specifics here. Number one, Luke Cromenhook, from what I looked up, doesn't even have a PFF. which is very weird. I don't know if you can try to find that, EJ, but I couldn't find one like a premium stat sheet for him. But when you look
Oh,
at, is there?
there is
Oh, that's weird.
uh he, not great though. He's below average
What's
on yeah,
what's his offensive grade in total?
69.2, which is
Okay.
just below average, but not completely terrible.
Well, it's also higher than Brock Glenn's. Brock Glenn's is 57.5.
Well, Croman Hook, the reason why he's in the game is uh when he throws it deeper, he like his attempts down the field are are much more aggressive than Glenn, and he completes them. So I think that's contributing to his rating.
Hmm. Okay. Well, there you go. That's something to look at. Also, from what it looks like, Croman Hook loves to run the football. He is a dual threat guy. He has a lot of carry attempts and has some yardage in some of these games. So just something to look at. He will scramble. Brock Glenn will as well, but Luke has like a positive rush yards in every single one of these games, even though they're getting sacked like crazy back there. So just something to look at with Luke. Like I said, I genuinely have no idea who's going to play the majority of the snaps because they've been going back and forth for the majority of the year. Well, after DJ went down, FSU's DJ, it went to just Brock Glenn. Brock Glenn played horrific. I forgot what game it was. Remember when they benched DJ? Brock Glenn came in, threw 3 interceptions, and then they took him right back out. It was so funny. But he's not good. And then after that, when DJ went down for the year, Luke came in, and then they've been going back and forth. And then against Charleston Southern, Luke got the majority of the snaps. So I don't know what we're going to see. But specifically with Brock Glenn, when he gets in the game, his best passing grades are on the deep center and deep right side of the field. The
Yeah.
problem is the deep center he's 1 out of 5 for 27 yards and 1 interception, and the deep right is 1 of 2 for 50 yards. So that's something to look at. But most of his passes are completed to the short center, which is 0 to 10 yards in the center of the field. But he also has 0 touchdowns and 3 interceptions there. So not very pretty for Brock Glenn. But so yeah, that's kind of what's with the passing. These quarterbacks also, when they run, at least with Brock Glenn, never scrambles up the middle. It's always to the outside.
Yep.
So he's always trying to roll out of the pocket and scramble. So, like you were talking about before, EJ, what we did with the Ole Miss game, bring in Jack Pyburn off the edge, right? Make him step up, get him uncomfortable, and you can probably force some bad throws by Brock Glenn and make him rush in a way that he doesn't like to. And then just for the rest of their offense, running back Lawrence Toafili is their number 1 guy. He's actually not a bad running back, but their run blocking has been so bad. He gets hit at the line of scrimmage almost every single play, and just doesn't have a lot to go from there. He doesn't really have a preferred side, except the left side is a little bit, he runs to the left side a little bit more. But it's not like hey, he loves, not like, Durham for LSU, where we're like, hey, he likes to run to the left. Don't let him run to the left side, and he did, and he got some yards. But he doesn't really have a big side that he goes to. And then for their defense, just like I said before, just terrible all around. So that's kind of the big PFF stats I have. And then my keys to the game, I just wrote stay healthy and underlined it. I wouldn't win a bowl game, bro. So let's just stay healthy, and then I'll be happy. EJ, any stats that are jumping out to you for this game?
Yeah, Croman Hook, Brock Glenn, man, 5.2 yards per attempt. That's like way worse than Mertz.
Yeah.
But and Croman Hook is 6.5. So I mean it's materially better than Glenn, but I'm kind of like either one of those are terrible. Either one of those are terrible. Like what is it? Norvell. Norvell, what are you doing? We were 10.6 yards per attempt, which is like national championship level against Ole Miss, which is like the number one defense in the nation. So that just gives you a little bit of a of context in terms of the ability to pass the ball. Uh, some other things that just really you know step out or jump off the board here is Florida State from a points per play standpoint um, has a relatively um, so here's the thing. They're outscored by their opponents, and this is has to be one of the worst stats in ever. Uh, 2-1 on their plays. So for every play their opponents run, they score twice as many points as when FSU runs a play. So 0.22 points per play scored by FSU, 0.41 given up by the defense. Um, Passing touchdowns, they got 14 passing touchdowns, but they also do not run for hardly any touchdowns. They've ran for, I believe, 7 touchdowns this year, 7 rushing touchdowns.
Jaden
We
Ball has
actually
that on
held,
his own, right?
right, maybe, yeah. Jaden Ball had 5 rushing touchdowns in one game against Kentucky. So to only have seven in a 12-11 game so far for the whole team is how is that even possible? Um, Third down percentage from Florida State. If we just do a base defense and just say, let's see if they can get it, is 27% on the year. So that would be like our best performance as a defense. If we just say, hey, just let them just see if they can make it. Um, Sacks. Florida State has been sacked 41 times. Their quarterbacks. That's guys. No wonder Majigger was hurt. So you you can't have a game if you're Florida where you take this team lightly and you look at these numbers and you think to themselves, well, this is not a good team. What I would do, what I would do is I would actually take these numbers and I would double them. And I would say, let's go from there. I mean, they're averaging 89 yards rushing a game, which is absolutely putrid. They've only thrown 11 touchdown passes. So they throw one touchdown pass a game and have half a rushing touchdown a game. That's 15 points a game that they score.
Jesus.
Now, guys, how many rank listen, I I didn't know. I mean, I watched Florida State football in about 4 games this year. Believe it or not, I watched the whole Miami game. It didn't look as bad as some of the other games, but that just goes to show that they showed up in a rivalry game. They actually wanted to play hard and have a good game plan. So that gives me a little bit of pause for this game because they showed up. And Miami actually had to play 4 quarters and keep the game going. But Florida is not Miami. Um, from a what kind of team are we? Florida is more like SMU, but also SMU with a little Notre Dame defense because Notre Dame defensively um completely I mean, Florida State could literally do nothing in that game. Um and Notre Dame's offense was a locomotive. And when you start to get to the midpoint of the second quarter, if the game is still close, remember when we played Samford, that was early in the year, and it was kind of like, okay, we're gonna win. DJ Lagway had his 500 yards passing, or how many ever. That was only 14-0 at halftime. So it wasn't like we were up and down the field, getting in the end zone. So if I'm Billy Napier, my approach to this game is we're going to come out in this game, we're going to play a base defense, and we're going to see what Florida State can produce offensively. And what it's going to help with is exactly what you said. Florida State is going to do something different that we haven't seen. They've been cooking it up the last month because they've been bye week in Charleston Southern. So they've been cooking it up. So let's see. Let's just base defense, see what they got. From an offensive standpoint, you also want to get out there and you want to run the ball. You want to give the ball to Jaden Baugh, give the ball to Montrell Johnson, and see at the point of attack, is Florida State prepared to stop our run in this game? I honestly think Florida State, at least in the first quarter, can contest Florida with that game plan, because this is what Billy Napier is going to do. Billy Napier is not going to come out in this game and think, okay, we're just going to bombs over Baghdad in this game. He's going to well, let's run the ball and see if we can run it on them. And if Florida State stones us, because they're going to put everybody, the game's going to get kind of close. It's going to be kind of close. And then the last thing we want is midway through the third quarter, we're now having to come up with a game plan to beat them, So my hope is we figure out an offense that can be successful early on. We go up 14-0, and then Florida State just sort of does what they do and quit. But if we come out and, well, let's run the ball, and they stone us, which is going to be really hard for me to see, but Oklahoma did it last night against Bama.
Right.
I mean, they stoned them. They stoned them. Pick six. They had 2 pick sixes. Well, 1 pick six and another one that was almost a pick six, but they got a touchdown. So we cannot come into this game taking this game lightly. We've got to really play an aggressive style defense. In my opinion, we're going to come out with a base, but like you said, let's just start blitzing. Let's force the issue, force their quarterback to run, force their quarterback to throw the ball fast, and let's let our defense create turnovers, which they have done, and let's let those turnovers fuel DJ Lagway. Because in sudden change situations, that's where I think we can really punch him in the mouth. And the game could end up looking like Kentucky without a kickoff return for a touchdown. But if it's not like that game, then it's probably going to end up looking like the UCF game where, okay, we're clearly the better team, but the score is still if they actually had a quarterback, the game could be tied.
Yeah.
So it's going to go either way. Let's see what we can do with the defense. The defense is going to have to get some turnovers.
Okay, so what you're saying is we need something that's going to fuel our guys. We need some kind of energetic moment, whether it's in special teams, offensively, maybe a sack on, that makes it like a 3rd and long, something to get the boys into it. I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. I think, especially look at our losses that we have. I mean, throw the Texas one away. But, if you look at, Tennessee, if you look at, but really look at the first 2 with Texas A&M and Miami, we were down 10-0 in those games. We did not start fast at all. And all of our wins, we got some points in the first quarter, right? And that's what was huge. And that was a difference maker. And I agree. I think this is a team that, can definitely go through the motions, I feel like at times. And I feel like what DJ brings to this team that makes him so special is he brings that explosive nature. He brings that energy. Yep. And this is a team that needs that because this is a very emotional team, which I think is great if you're playing well because that means that they have momentum, they're on a roll. but when they're down, it's not great. You know what I'm saying? I
Right.
mean, think about it. Every single time the Gators have been down this year by more than a touchdown, have we ever won? I don't think so. I don't think so.
Uh, um, so we were down by a touchdown against Ole Miss
Right.
and came back
Right.
because that's one. Um, yeah,
But by more than a touchdown, I can't think of like by 10. I can't think of anything. Like it's always been neck and neck. You know what I mean? But
you're
if
right.
if the other team gets up by 2 scores, but here's the thing though too. It's like with DJ Lagway, anything can happen, and especially with this defense. So, like you said, it's one of those games that you you just you just don't know because there's been times this game. I let me just start by saying this. I love this game. I hate Florida State, but there's like a I love to hate Florida State if that makes sense. And I was telling EJ, they have the Doak Campbell Stadium has a special place in my heart because the first ever college football game, other than the Gators, of course, that I actually sat down and watched. It was like in 2011, and I was born in 2004, so I'm like 7, 8 years old, and I see it's Clemson versus Florida State. It's a night game at Doak Campbell Stadium. Florida State's a good football team at this point, and bro, you just see it's a sold out night game at Doak Campbell. You see everyone doing the Seminole Chomp, and like it was just so energetic that night. You had Kirk Herbstreit, it was nuts. And I was like, man, this is college football. This is dope. There's something actually outside of Gator football. And so they have it has a special place in my heart, man. And like I said, I went to the Florida State game, 2 years ago, with when we had Anthony Richardson back there, and I mean, there was some big time moments in that game. Bombed by Richardson to Pearsall. It was an insane game, and that was such a full circle moment for me because I felt like I was 7 again, right, being in that stadium, and it was such an electric night, and but yeah, I mean, here we are, man. This is we're back at it, and we have the momentum now. And if you look at our history, I don't know if there's any games that you can recall, EJ. You can even talk about the national title game that we had against them when they beat us before, whatever. There's been a lot of games in the past where the most unexpected thing happens, man. You know what I mean? It's a rivalry game, like you say. You don't know what. And you're right, that Miami game, they were in that Miami game for most of that game. It was really weird, man. That defense stepped up a little bit. The offense was
Yeah.
making plays. They were running the ball. It was very weird looking back at that game. And I remember watching it and going, oh, man, this is crazy. So I agree. I think that's an eye-opener. And I forgot what the original point was that I was making. But yeah, this is a game that it would not surprise me, like you said, if it's, touchdown game, a 7-point game. Look back at Billy Napier from his first year of being here. We don't have many wins where we win by more than a touchdown or 2 touchdowns. Even against McNeese State, Charlotte, we never pulled away, right? And so I'm just saying, man, Napier lives for these close games. Even when he was a head coach at Louisiana, he never won by more than 10 points. They were all close games. He loves these close games. So I think you're right. It's going to come down to big playmakers making big plays. It's going to come down to DJ Lagway making big plays, Jaden Ball, Elijah Badger, and this defense with Sapp and Caleb Banks and, Cam Jackson and the secondary making plays. And good news is I think there's an energy. We have a momentum right now as a program when it comes to those big plays, offensively and defensively, where I think it can happen in this game. But I agree, it's gonna be cold. It's gonna be a cold night. It's gonna be 50 degrees. Are they gonna be ready for that? I don't know, man. I'll be in the stadium without a shirt on.
Yeah, they don't like that cold. But that Miami game, there were no turnovers in that game. And usually when you get turnovers, that's when you really start to blow people out,
Yeah.
So they didn't force any. So the thing is, we're going to need to force some turnovers to get our guys going. But this is a storied rivalry, but big picture, we're looking at this Florida State rivalry. It's interesting. Urban Meyer was asked earlier this year, "Oh, what's your biggest rival? What's Florida's biggest rival?" And he said, "Oh, it's Georgia. It's no question, it's Georgia." And so I'm kind of always because we're the only team that I can think of in America, other than Notre Dame, that has more than two rivals. Like we've got technically four. Uh, I'm like, who else has four rivalry games?
Yeah.
So Florida State to me will always be the number one rival. Um, just because, growing up in Tallahassee, all my really good friends are FSU fans. Like you were saying, the Seminole Chop, listening to that, glaring, for the entire game.
Entire game, dude.
We have to get them so that when they play that song, they look silly because we're winning the game. Okay? So that's the game this needs to be. But the interesting thing about this, big picture wise, is this rivalry usually is one of two ways. It's usually um both teams are like elite top 10 level teams, or one team is just atrocious and the other team is sort of good. And that's kind of and so it's kind of weird. But that's sort of the situation we're in now. Is like the last 2 years, it's been Florida State's been pretty good, and Florida has been kind of like, what the hell? Now it's the reverse this year, except it's like historically bad for FSU. So that's just how the cookie crumbles sometimes. Um, Florida State, they hopefully they still have some pride. But the thing with NIL is when you replace all these players that they've done because they didn't recruit, um, when you replace all these players through the transfer portal who are really just at Florida State because it's a better school than what I was at last time and they're paying me, as opposed to somebody that you got from Jacksonville, or you
Hmm.
got this guy from Orlando who grew up a Seminole fan, and it's just passion and hate, and I'm a Knoll and I hate them Gators. We don't have that anymore. Like for Florida, I think we kind of have that a little bit more
Hmm.
than what you see on the Florida State side. Like Norvell, he never really. I mean, he never was a Florida person. I mean, Billy Napier was at least. I don't know where Norvell is from, but I don't recall him being
Not
like
from the
a.
South, that's for sure. Let me
Yeah,
look real
yeah. I don't
quick.
think he's from the South. So like, does he get the rivalry? You know, Napier's at least from Louisiana, so he's like, I know a little bit about the Florida State.
Yeah, he's from Texas.
Oh, he's from Texas.
Yeah.
Okay. So, but long story short, it, it doesn't really make sense to look at the stats of this game as more as it does the style of play and how the game will go. I think we got to expect Florida State to play a lot harder in this game, because this is their one shining moment to save their season, even though it's not really going to save their season. But imagine what losing this game would mean for
Oh,
Florida. Like that is what we are trying to avoid. You coming off the biggest high, oh, the future Heisman playoff. Can we see it? Seeing is believing. And that's the other thing. Many in the last few years, it's kind of like, well, we think Florida can do this. We think they can do that. But now we're actually seeing on the field what we can be. And that is what you carry over into the next year. And that's what the media and everybody carries over to say, okay, yeah, this is going to be a top ranked quarterback next year because we actually saw him playing well in a game last year. Like we have not been able to do that since I don't even remember when.
yeah.
So maybe 2019 going into 2020. But yeah, so Florida State is still going to come out. They're going to play hard. We got to win this game with our defense, running the ball. And I think in this game, if we can run it and then also set that up for a deep pass down the field, Florida State's going to try to take something away. And I think it's going to be the running game because they know Billy Napier is going to try to just run the ball. So can we hit them deep? Badger, I hope you're playing in this game, my friend. I think it's game over if he's out there and we're able to throw the ball. So it's gonna be a fun game. I'm excited for you to go down there and
Yeah.
hit them with the two bits.
Haha. Yes, sir. Yeah, I agree with everything you said, man. All right, you ready to make our score prediction? Let's make our score
Yes.
prediction, man. I will go first here. Um, yeah, this was a hard one to pick because, like I said, I feel really weird about this one. I don't, you know, what I mean, I don't think we're gonna lose, but I do think it's gonna be a really close game, especially early on. I have this final score being 38-17 Florida, but I think that 17 points, most of that's gonna come from the first half of Florida State. I could see it being like, you know, 21-10 or 17-10 Florida going into halftime. We're thinking, "Oh, this is a fun one." Florida State's scoring a little bit, and then I think Florida really pulls away in the second half. But yeah, I think it's going to be a close game early on, so that's why I have Florida State scoring 17, and then I think a touchdown late.
Oh wow. Okay, so we're kind of like right on the same level.
Okay.
So I'm gonna say Florida 34-16. I think Florida State's gonna get their 16 points that they score on average.
Okay.
And I think we'll get a touchdown more than what we score on average. And it's not gonna look like, oh, we just demoralize them. It's gonna look, when you watch the game, you're gonna see, okay, yeah, Florida's definitely a better team. I think Florida State's gonna make a mistake. We're gonna be able to capitalize. We're gonna play relatively conservative. And DJ Lagway is going to hit one big play down the field that's gonna, your season's over, FSU.
Yep.
Uh, and Billy Napier is not going to try to run up the score late. So I like that. I like, so 38-17. I'm going to go 34-16. I think they'll kick field goals. They actually kick pretty good field goal in 93. They've only missed one field goal all year.
Yeah.
So I think they're going to kick the field goals and we're going to hold them to field goals and we'll kick a couple of long field goals that'll keep them thinking, oh, they're only going to kick field goals. And then bing, bang, boom, Jane Ball, house money.
Yes, sir. Love to see it. Yeah. The fact that our score is close is going to be very interesting to see how that goes down. I didn't know their average are scoring, yeah, about close to 16 points a game. That's really funny. There you go.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens, man. Like you said, Napier doesn't like running up the score, so your 34 might be a little closer. All right. Cool. So there's our FSU prediction. You guys let us know, man, what you guys think the score will be. What do you think will this be a trap game? What's going to happen with this? You guys let us know. All right. So we made our week 13 picks for this past weekend, EJ. Some good news for you. You went 3-4. I went 2-5. You got me. You're a little comeback here. A little bit of a comeback for you.
3-4.
3-4. But listen, I went 2-5 though. All right, so you're kind of coming back, which makes me
These picks are hard.
They're hard, man. Well, that's the thing. You were actually right about some of these, and we were right about some of these, but the spread just screwed us over. There's a couple that were really close. It's actually kind of crazy.
Oh, okay.
All right, so Indiana. We both picked Indiana at Ohio State. Ohio State favored by 10.5. And man, I mean, Ohio State goes crazy. It wasn't even a close game, man. I think Indiana had a total of 151 total yards on offense. They scored on the opening drive, didn't score until the fourth quarter, and Ohio State just went crazy, man. I mean, Will Howard was throwing some nice balls down the field, man. I mean, Travion Henderson showed up. Jeremiah Smith made a few really good catches. It was just an absolute butt whooping by Ohio State.
Yeah, 153 yards for Indiana is Kirk Signetti. Let me tell you something, son. We don't want to Google that. Okay. 153 yards is pathetic.
It's crazy.
But at the end of the day, it just goes to show the talent difference of both of those teams were on full display. Indiana was playing with Vandy level talent and playing really well, innovative, great, good offense. But now they played a team that man for man, every single position, they're outclassed, and that's what we saw.
Yeah, wasn't even really close, man. So now, what do you do with Indiana? Do you keep him out of the playoff? Do you put him in? I don't think you put him in at all. I think you take him out. I don't think they've proven anything.
Dang.
I
What do you think? What do you think? What are your thoughts on that?
I don't think you. I think you take him out. I don't think they have like their whole schedule. Like, look, I'm really happy with what Indiana's done, but they have. I think if you look at the Big Ten rankings, they've just played like the bottom 7 teams. Like
Yeah.
like people are pointing at like Penn State, and I'm or Ohio State, and I'm like Ohio State's played some of the best Big Ten teams. Penn State has played some of the best Big Ten teams. They got USC. They got some other teams that are really good in the Big Ten. Wisconsin, and Indiana just really has. They don't like. I mean, let's look at their schedule. We won't spend this much time on any of the other ones, but let's take a look at their schedule real quick. FIU, Western Illinois, UCLA, Charlotte, Maryland, Northwestern, Nebraska, Washington, Michigan State. Their best wins probably over Michigan, and then they get beat by Ohio State. And it's like, so you think about all the Big Ten teams that they haven't played. It's really interesting, man. They got a very lucky schedule. Indiana did, and it's not their fault. But what have they proven? I don't know. I think they're still going to make it in, but I don't know if they. I don't know. They haven't proven anything, man.
So speaking of that, we got to do our CFP bracket challenge.
Oh, for sure.
This year. Yeah, we definitely got to do that because ESPN is launching that. Oh, maybe we should do a Swamp King or SwampCast bracket challenge pool and let our listeners join in on us and see who does it. I think that'll be fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Indiana at the end of the day, they have 12 blue chip recruits on their roster. 12 0 5 stars, 12 4 stars. Vanderbilt has the exact same number, 12 4 stars, 0 5 stars. The only difference is Vanderbilt has to play Texas, Alabama. Did they play Georgia? I mean, they got to play all these teams. And Vanderbilt, when they actually played a team, Ohio State has the third best roster in the country. Alabama, number one. When Vanderbilt played Alabama, they won. When Indiana played Ohio State, you get blown off the field and can't even get 100 yards rushing or passing, and you can't even move the ball. So to me, putting Indiana in is like putting Vanderbilt in, because if you put Vanderbilt in the Big Ten and you say Vanderbilt, play the bottom 7 teams of the Big Ten. Well, instead of being 6-5, what Vanderbilt is right now, they're probably 9-2, 10-1, just what Indiana is. So it's hard for me to say Indiana should deserve it, but the Big Ten homers are going to say, they're going to use deductive logic, and they're going to say, well, if Penn State is in and they're 7-1, then we should put Indiana in. It's a TCU situation where you put this team in and they have to play against team. Maybe the first game they'll play but when they got to play Oregon, Texas, Ohio State again, it's going to be the same thing. So I think the committee needs to be smart and do the rankings based on who these teams are.
Oh, yeah. No, the amount of arguments I got in with people because I commented Indiana doesn't need to be in the playoff, dude, was insane. Now, this was before all the upsets that happened last night. Now they'll probably sneak in. But, dude, I was just like, people are so stupid. They're like, oh, what about Penn State? I'm like, well, Penn State, once again, played some of the best Big Ten teams. They have a win over Illinois, who's a top 25 team. They have a win at USC, at Wisconsin. Like, what are you talking about? This is insane. They just beat also a Minnesota team. That's a good Minnesota team, which was a great game, which we'll get to. But, like, I don't know. I just thought that was really funny. They obviously have a way better track record than Indiana. And people are like, and also people are going, oh, well, what about Notre Dame? I'm like, Notre Dame beat Texas A&M and just had another top 25 win over Army, which we'll get to. And they're like, oh, well, they lost to NIU. Here's my thing with that. They lost to NIU at the beginning of the season, right? And so I'm like, I personally would rather take a team that had one bad loss, but also had two top 25 wins than one team that has one good loss, I guess, to Ohio State and doesn't have any top 25, any top 35 wins, if you look at the AP. So, like, that's just my opinion. I don't know. I think Notre Dame's playing at a much bigger level. Here's my thing. If Notre Dame just lost against NIU, then I'd be like, all right, I don't like this.
Good point.
But that happened so much earlier in the season. I don't know. I think the two top 25 wins give Notre Dame a way better resume than Indiana. I also get, then Texas needs to be out. Honestly, if Texas loses against Texas A&M this weekend, what good wins do they have? Right?
Great point. Gators.
So, yeah. Aiden Warner. So
Aiden Warner.
So that's my thing is like, yeah, I if they left out Texas, I wouldn't be mad because what wins to Texas? Their best win is Michigan. And that was at home. And Michigan, or I think, what was that? I don't know. Either way, Michigan's not a good football team. And that I don't think that's a good win at all. And they got destroyed by Georgia in their own home. They didn't do anything that game. Yeah, I would even though Georgia threw like 3 picks. So Texas doesn't have a good resume either. Florida has a better resume than all these people. You know what I'm saying? Do I say they need to make it in above them? No, I'm just saying I'm making a point. I think that's something you need to look at. It's not your fault you have a schedule like that, but you also have to look at, hey, you have a bad schedule, an easy schedule. Guess what? You have to win all of them because if you put in Indiana, if you put in Texas, if you put in all these teams that have had easy schedules, then you're telling teams, okay, I just gotta, all these ADs, okay, cool, I just gotta make an easy schedule. That's it.
Right.
And then I'll make it in no matter what. That's not the right mindset. You know what I'm saying?
You can't reward that.
Exactly. You have to look at if Georgia, which was left out of the playoff before this week, statistically, if they don't make it, but someone like Indiana does, oh my God, people are rightfully so. They're going to be pissed, and rightfully so because that is unbelievable. Georgia has the hardest strength of schedule right now in all of college football, and they've lost a few, sure, but they've also won some big games. Come on, bro. That's crazy to me. You have to reward these teams for that.
And we don't like Georgia, but we're being real.
No, for sure. And here's my thing, right? If the playoff is based off most deserved teams, throw in Indiana, they deserve it. Throw in Texas, they deserve it, right? But it's the best teams. And last year with leaving FSU out, that proved what the committee wants. They want the at that time 4, but now the top 12 best teams. They don't want the top 12 most deserving teams. And Josh Pate tweeted something I'm sure you were going to talk about too, EJ. Is he's going to talk about it today. He says he's going to say some stuff that's going to shake the world up, and I already kind of probably know what it is because he tweeted something out today saying that they're just going to keep expanding the playoff because there's really not 12 teams that deserve to make it. What it should have been was 4 teams with 2 other teams that can make their way in like a wild card, right? And have like 6 to 8 teams. But now we got to 12. It's going to then go to 14 and then 16. You guys think I'm joking? It's going to happen. It's going to keep expanding. And it's funny because when the 4-team playoff happened in 2014, everyone said, "Oh, they're not gonna make it a 18. They're not gonna make it a 10-12 team. That's not gonna happen." Fast forward 10 years, look where we are. You know what I mean? So I'm just saying it's going to happen a lot faster than 10 years, and the college football world is going to become a AFC versus NFC, where it's Big Ten and then the SEC, because everyone's going to join those 2 conferences, and it's going to be, hey, if you have 6 wins, you can still make the playoff. It's ridiculous. I hate it, and that's the way we're going. But anyway, I digress. Anything you want to add to that, EJ, before we move on to the next game?
You're 100% right. And, when Penn State played Ohio State, it was actually relatively close. It was a touchdown. It wasn't, you were blown off the field. And you're 100% right that when it comes down to it, I think college football, and I think they'll start to evolve. The way the college football playoff selection is now is brain dead dumb. And I think it was formatted this way to make people happy. But now I think we have to start actually being real going into the next season. I completely disagree with expanding the playoff because, guys, you're trying to find the best team. The best team in the country is not the 12th or 14th or 15th or 16th team. The best team in the country is almost always in the top four. And I even talked to you about this, like even in basketball, when they do the 68 team tournament, usually a number one seed, which is one of the top four teams in the country, 80% of the time wins the tournament because the four best teams throughout the year end up being the best team in the tournament. So you don't need to play these meaningless games unless you like the revenue. Maybe we're losing money because of NIL. So now we got to play all these playoff games to make the money back, whatever that the case is. It's gonna, I mean, think about this. Like as Florida fans, the last 10 years, we really haven't had to spend a lot of money traveling to postseason games. But think about this. If you're Georgia, let's say you make who's locked into the SEC championship game, by the way, and you're going to Atlanta for the SEC championship game. Then you're not in the top four. So that means you got to play 4 playoff games if you win the national championship. Who's going to afford to go? And you're a diehard fan and you want to go to 5 games. Where do you get the money to go to 5 postseason games? Like, it's insane the number of postseason games that these college teams are going to have to play. But that's what they wanted.
And then you have injuries and you have opt-outs.
Right.
It's just like this whole thing. When you have people saying that Indiana needed to sit out Curtis O'Rourke in the Ohio State game, it's like, this is not the NFL, man. Like that really pisses me off, man, when I see stuff like that. And I can't even stand it. And then you go to the conference championship. It's like, do you even want to go, like what Lane Kiffin said, do you even want to go to the SEC championship? Probably not, because if you go and you lose, you're going to be kicked out of the, the thing. And then
Georgia.
Georgia's a great example. If Georgia loses, is Ole Miss going to sneak their way back up? Because they're 15 right now. They're number 15. So if some upsets happen this week, which we know will happen, are they going to sneak their way back up, into the top 12 and have Georgia drop out if they lose the SEC championship? I'm just saying, you don't even want to go to the SEC championship now. You don't even want to go to these conference championships now, because if you lose, you're done. And what your reward is only 1 less game? Like, huh? Like, I don't know. I hate the whole system. The system's an absolute joke.
It's a joke.
It's a joke, and it's ruining college football. So, hopefully we're on a bad track right now. Hopefully we can figure it out. But anyway, love that. We're gonna dive more into that next weekend, and we'll have our own our top 12 going into next week, and we'll dive more into that. Next game, BYU at Arizona State. This was amazing in Tempe. This was a huge game. This Big 12 implications here. And BYU obviously coming off of a loss, hurt them a little bit. And they dropped the bag here, man. The ending to this game was actually insane. I don't even know I'll just go through it quick, I guess. Basically, Arizona State, they get an interception. They run all the way back to like the 5-yard line. They then try to run out the clock. And then for some reason, they were like, hey, the quarterback for Arizona State, what you need to do is get the ball and like run around a little bit and try to waste as much time as you possibly can. When he did that, he got like a 20-yard loss on the play. So then they're like kind of out of field goal range, which, they're up 28-23 anyway. So they're up by 5 points. They're a little out of field goal range. And so he gets the ball in the final play and just chugs it in the air, just launches it in the air, right? With like 5-6 seconds left. It then goes out of bounds. They blow the whistle with 1 second left. Arizona State fans didn't see that. They rushed the field. It's crazy. They're tearing down the goalposts. There's 1 second left. They're doing a official review to see how much time's left on the clock when the ball went out of bounds. And then they had to, literally it was like 15 minutes. I think it was like 13 minutes. They had to get all the people off the field. There was stuff all over the field. And then BYU had an opportunity, because that was a 4th and goal, by the way. BYU had an opportunity to do a Hail Mary at the end of the game to win it. The Hail Mary gets caught, but it's 5 yards in front of the end zone. What a game this was. It was insane. I watched it a little bit. It was one hell of a game, man. Crazy ending. I've never seen an ending like that. There was 2 premature field rushes this day in college football.
Yeah, that was a wild game. I mean, Arizona State is one of the Florida, Arizona State, and Kansas, we can just all say, are playing ball right now.
Mm-hmm.
And Arizona State, wait, did I pick them? I definitely picked them.
Sorry, yes, we both picked Arizona State to cover. They won by 5. The spread was 3.5.
Okay, great. Yeah. So Arizona State, they were up when I turned the game. It was 28-9. So I was like, okay, they're gonna win. And then bing, bang, boom, 2 touchdowns. And Billy Napier, are you coaching Arizona State now? So the reality is BYU has had moments earlier in the year where they had to have a miracle, and they won a couple of close games. Now the last couple of games, it's kind of caught up with them. And at the end of the day, when it's 50-50, like it could go either way, and you're not definitely the better team, you could win, you could lose. And now you're seeing them losing. But they are playing teams like Arizona State, from a talent profile standpoint, is, believe it or not, a little bit more talented than BYU. So this is not a completely surprising situation. It's just that BYU did have a better quarterback, Retzlaff. But Arizona State has a 34-year-old head coach. So he's doing pretty great.
Yeah, Kenny, I think his name is, young guy. He did an interview with Josh Pate. He's a pretty cool guy, man. I love his energy and what he's doing. And yeah,
Great
BYU,
energy.
the reason BYU got where they were is because they found ways to win games, and it just ran out. It ran out in Arizona this past weekend, and one hell of a game. Next one we have is Colorado, favored by 2.5 at Kansas. We both picked Colorado to cover. And Colorado gets whipped, man. This was a big upset. We said it could happen. Colorado loses 21-37. This was not a close game. Colorado looked like they were coming back because they actually started to get Travis Hunter involved in this game. Refs were a little iffy in this game too. Just saying, there's some weird calls that did not go Colorado's way. But yeah, man, Colorado got away from running the ball also in this game. Did not understand that because they were actually having some success with it, and it just fell apart. Kansas gets the win.
Colorado's defense they need to be running up and down the boulder. What do they got in Colorado? Boulder? They got a big boulder? Yep. They need to run up and down that boulder until their legs give out, like leg day. Okay? Because the reality is Kansas ran up and down the field. Like, they had to have 400 yards. Like, you hand it off and boom. So that was something that I just didn't see coming. I mean, I knew Kansas, is a hot team. They'd lost a lot of games, but very similar to us, they played a lot of teams that were better, higher ranked, and now they're starting to play. They got that Toucan Sam helmet. So Coach Prime at the end of the game said, we were feeling ourselves, and maybe they were, and we thought we could just show up and win, and we got a reality check. Man, Kansas, they had to have like 400 something yards.
Yeah, they had 331 yards rushing the ball because of Devin Neal, bro. He's been a running back for them for years, and he just had an insane game.
333 rushing yards to 43. Coach Prime, you got to send us some free blenders, because that is pathetic.
Kansas did not punt one time in this game.
And look at the time of possession. That's the fear when you do that, when you're playing like when against LSU, but we didn't give up any points.
Right.
There's a big difference. So, dang, they ran wild on these fools. Colorado, y'all need to run. Y'all need to run.
Yeah, crazy game, man. Unbelievable, man. Unbelievable. Kansas Jayhawks, by the way, the first team I think ever to have 3 wins against top 25 teams while being under 500. Crazy, crazy. So big time win.
Insane.
We
Iowa
literally
State,
witnessed history.
BYU, Colorado.
Yep,
Wow.
unbelievable. Shaking up the Big 12. Next one we have is Army against Notre Dame. This was at, I think, the Yankee Stadium is where they played this game. Notre Dame favored by 16.5. They won 49-14. I thought Army would cover. They did not. EJ, you picked Notre Dame to cover, and they get the win. This was just a beatdown. There's no other way to put it.
Yeah, no other way to put it. Just Notre Dame, just way more talented than Army. Army's offense, the triple option situation did not work. The thing though, Notre Dame plays Army every year, so they're used to preparing for this style of play. And you have a team that's prepared and they're more talented. Beat down.
You know how happy Notre Dame is? You know how happy they are to not be in a conference and not have to play a conference championship to be able to, you know what I mean? Like, they don't have to worry about not making the playoff now. All they got to do is win this next game, and then they're in the playoff.
Who,
Unbelievable.
who, who are they playing their next game?
Let me see.
USC. USC.
Is it USC? That's
Oh!
actually. Wait, do we have that? I think we have to pick that this week. Yeah, yeah.
Ooh.
That we do have that to pick. They're favored by 6.5. Going to be a very good game. Something to watch, man. Something to watch. They need to be in a conference though. Independent should not be a thing you can do in college football. Next game we have Iowa State goes to Utah and wins 31-28. Last second victory for Iowa State because they were down late in this game. I remember watching a little bit of it and seeing that Utah was up with like a minute and 20 left, and I was like, Utah won it. No, they did not. They took an L, man. I didn't watch this game, but like I said, I did. I did put it on for a minute and see that Utah was actually up.
Yeah, Iowa State. This is one of those games where I watched the highlights. They kind of dominated this game. They were clearly the better team, but one interception and Utah gets the ball and it's a close game. So, it's just one of those weird games. But anytime you're picking a game with Iowa versus Iowa or Iowa State, any team from Iowa, it could go either way.
We talked about this. That's so great. Yeah, very inconsistent. But look at them now. Iowa State, 9-2. Big 12 is insane. Big 12 is
Big
insane.
12 was wild.
Before we talk about the biggest upset of the weekend, let's talk about Vandy at LSU. Vanderbilt. LSU was favored by 7.5. LSU wins by 7. Unbelievable. I picked LSU to cover. You did not. You picked Vandy to cover, and you won that. So good stuff, EJ. I see you. Big victory. I was actually able to watch a little bit of this game. And yeah, I mean, look, they were yelling "Fire Brian Kelly" in the first quarter of this game because it was literally tied, and then finally LSU gets a touchdown in the second. The chants were going crazy, and yeah, LSU. Listen, you got to feel bad for Diego Pavia, man. He doesn't have any time in the pocket, and he somehow still threw for 186 yards. He's just back there fighting for his life, man. And LSU, even though it was a home game, they actually do get a good win here because their heads weren't in it, and they still get the win. So that's a good win for them because Vandy is a scary team.
Yeah, like we said, Vandy is what Indiana is,
Yeah.
except Vandy has to play in the SEC where you play Missouri, Alabama, Texas, South Carolina, LSU, Tennessee. If Indiana had to play all those teams, who are they 10-1 right now? So, I'd love to see a Vandy versus Indiana bowl game, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, this was a game where LSU, you're just more talented. You need to be able to just will your way to a win, and that's what happened. Nussmeier did not make enough mistakes to lose you the game, came out on top.
Yeah.
But the thing about Brian Kelly, when he was at Notre Dame, they look exactly like what this LSU team looks like a good team, but just not elite, not take the top off, win you the game.
Nope.
Um, so last year you had a chance to do that, but you had a horrible defense. So it's like Brian Kelly can never, and the thing is, he doesn't really know. He knows what a good team looks like. I don't think he knows what an exceptional team looks like. And making sure that every component of your team is exceptional, that's what you have to be. And so there you
Yeah.
go.
Yeah. No, I agree. Oh man, I remember it was him and Billy Napier were the two big coaching candidates, and LSU had an opportunity at both, and then they went with Brian Kelly. So just something to think about. Here we are with the last game that we're gonna talk about. Man, biggest upset in college football, probably one of the biggest upsets this year, if not the biggest. Alabama gets dominated in Norman, Oklahoma, loses 3-24. Alabama favored by 13.5. We both picked Bama to
Oh,
cover.
why?
And
I should have never did
yeah, well,
that.
here's the thing. You actually were very hesitant because I picked first and I was like, oh, yeah. Literally, I went back and watched it and I was like, this is not even going to be close, dude. Bama's going to win by at least 3 touchdowns. It's going to be light work. And then you were like, I don't know, man. Norman, Oklahoma, we'll see. And then you're like, you know what? No, they'll cover. And yeah, man. I mean, I'll say the biggest story of this game was Jackson Arnold running the football with his legs and Jalen Milroe not being able to at all. He had 7 rushing yards this game. Got sacked a lot. They put so much pressure on Jalen Milroe. Actually, very similar to what we're talking about in the Ole Miss game where Jackson Dart had to run forward. Jalen Milroe had to run forward. He wasn't able to escape the pocket. They closed in on him on multiple occasions. One hell of a game. I would love for Florida to play Oklahoma because I feel like we're both similar in a lot of ways with the injuries and what we can do.
Yeah.
But Oklahoma literally threw for 68 yards. Bama just cannot stop the run. Jackson Arnold, a quarterback, 131 yards. Xavier Robinson, a running back, 107 yards. It was insane. Insane. Bama was able to run the ball a little bit, but not consistent enough. And the 3 interceptions by Jalen Milroe, man. I mean, they just couldn't get anything going. It was insane.
Yeah, I was able to catch the tailwind of this game, and I was like, I knew this game was gonna be because this is one of those games where at the end of the day, and this is the Florida Ole Miss, Florida LSU, at the end of the day, Oklahoma's roster is very talented. Like they have really good players. And Brent Venables, what's his bread and butter? Defense. He is going to have a good game plan on defense. The question is his offense just going to be able to put up enough points to end up winning you the game? This was a game where the defense was so good and the offense was able to just will their way running the football that you got Alabama off schedule. Now Alabama he's uncomfortable. He's got to try to throw the ball. And Milroe is sort of, I don't want to say he's kind of like Lagway in that way, but when Milroe is in a position now in his career where the pressure's really on and he's got to make every throw, he can't do it. And he got these interceptions. He got shook. Now he can't. Now he's hesitant to throw the ball. But there was one game-changing play in this game where I actually was kind of like, these refs are there's some shits. It was, they threw a long touchdown pass to Ryan Williams, the true freshman, 17-year-old. And he made it's like NFL catch here, touchdown, baby. And the ref threw a flag like after the touchdown was scored. And everybody's like, well, what's the flag?
Oh
Because
yes.
everybody's like, touchdown, touchdown, touchdown. And
Yep.
then everybody's like, well, there's a flag. And we're kind of like, well, what the hell is the flag? So just so everyone, because this is not a rule that's widely known. So they, the referee came out of, it's like he came out of the woodworks and he said, the receiver was covered up and he was ineligible for the catch. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, you can't throw that flag. And that Kalen DeBoer, rightfully, he's a really nice guy. He went ape shit. And these refs are terrible. So the rule is if you have two wide receivers on the line of scrimmage, the one that is closest to the tackle is not eligible. He can only catch a backward pass, like a pass that's behind the line of scrimmage, or he can block, but he cannot catch because he's defined as he's covered up, meaning he's an offensive lineman.
Hmm.
So if you're in the slot, you have to be behind the line of scrimmage to be able to catch a forward pass. So when you go back and you look at the play, Ryan Williams was not on the line of scrimmage. He was like a half yard back. It maybe looked like he was on the line of scrimmage. And then what you always do when you're in a wide receiver and you kind of see it when the ball is snapped, they turn around and they look at the ref and they say, "Am I good?" And the ref will give you a thumbs up. I don't know if that happened on this play, but the thing that pisses me off is, and I don't have a dog in the fight. I'm just, the refs are terrible. The flag should come out as soon as the ball is snapped because the penalty occurs as soon as the receiver starts running down the field to catch a forward pass. So the official should throw that ball, the flag. But he didn't throw the flag until he's running out catching the touchdown and then like flag. And it's just like you got to throw that when the ball is snapped, man.
What a catch too.
So 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 it was a terrible call. But yeah, but the if you're a wide receiver and you're on the line of scrimmage, if the one that's closest to the offensive line always has to be behind the line of scrimmage if he wants to be eligible for a forward pass, or other words, he can really only catch a screen or block basically. So uh, that's the rule. It was terrible that the ref threw that flag though.
That late, yeah. That I was wondering what that was about because yeah, the camera panned to Kalen DeBoer. And he was angry. He was feeling it. And I was like, okay, something's going on. Yeah, that's crazy. That what a catch too on that play for that touchdown. It was beautiful, beautiful play.
Yeah.
And then yeah, unreal, man. Yeah, that game as a whole. I mean, the energy in Norman, man. I went to an Oklahoma game last year. Really crappy environment, but it was against Iowa State, and it was a really easy game for them. But from what it
Yeah.
looked like, man, it was rocking, really rocking. So good for them. All right, well there you go. Those are, like I said, our Week 13 picks. I went 2-5, EJ 3-4, all time. Logan, me 19-25, EJ 17-27. So you're coming back. If you on this last week, actually we got 2 more weeks because we'll do the rivalry week of this week, and then we'll do the conference championship, all the conference championships. So,
Okay,
so
I can make a comeback.
you easily can make a comeback, and we have 10 games to review this week. Oh yeah, it's gonna. Well, actually, I think we have 11. We got a lot here, so we're gonna go through these. Here we go, starting with Wisconsin at Minnesota. Minnesota, I love this team. Almost pulled it off against Penn State. Penn State got lucky as hell in that game. I love Minnesota. Young team, going to be dangerous later on. Wisconsin, though, favored by 1.5 points, fighting for bowl eligibility. I love Wisconsin, too, but I got Minnesota, man. I got the Golden Gophers. I love this team.
Ooh, why do you always pick these really good games? Like this is not easy to pick. Um, the thing is, Wisconsin, if they were playing at home,
Mhm.
I'd probably go Wisconsin, but Minnesota is one of those teams that they're really good against the spread. They play really really well at home, and is this a rivalry game? Isn't it?
Yeah.
Don't they play for like the Oaken bucket or
Yeah,
something? Some kind
something
of
weird.
bucket.
Yeah.
Play for a bucket. Give me Minnesota to win outright. Minnesota covers. Gophers.
And they get the bucket. All right, next game we got Georgia favored by 20.5 versus Georgia Tech. This is at Georgia at Sanford Stadium. Next year they go to the big dome there, Mercedes-Benz Stadium for this rivalry, but this year it's at Sanford. Look, my dad's saying that this is going to be an upset. He thinks it's going to go crazy. He thinks that Georgia Tech's going to outright win this one and shock the world. Georgia Tech's a nasty team, and this isn't the same Georgia team we've seen over the years. But I think Georgia's going to win this game, but are they going to win by 3 touchdowns? That's the question, man. Is Carson Beck going to go crazy in this game? They're guaranteed a SEC title shot. I'm going to pick Georgia to cover, but I don't like it. I don't like it at all. I feel like, I don't know, man. This team, I don't know. I don't like that one a lot, but
I'm gonna pick Georgia to win, but Georgia Tech to cover.
that's smarter.
Um, I just think Georgia is Kirby Smart's mentality is we need to win this game for our playoff hopes, because that's still on the line in this game. Because if you lose this, yeah, you can go to the SEC championship game and win, but at that point, how many losses they would have? They would have 3 losses.
Yeah.
I just don't think it's a good look to lose this game.
Mm-hmm.
So I think Georgia's going to win it. They're going to find a way. I just think they have too much for Georgia Tech. But in a rivalry game, Georgia Tech, they're going to play really hard. They're going to keep this game. I could see it being like the Florida game, like 34-20, and Georgia just miraculously wins at the end by 2 touchdowns.
I agree. That's actually probably the better pick because, yeah, I'm with you. But sadly, like I said, I'm just going to take a risk here, see what happens. Why not,
Yeah.
Next one, we have Kansas at Baylor. Baylor favored by 1.5 points. Kansas, a nasty team. But look, Baylor, man, actually not a bad team. They've had a good season so far this year. Can Kansas go in and upset Baylor? Because at 1.5 points, if Kansas covers, that means that they actually, win this game. Screw it. You know what? Let's go again, Kansas. Let's make it happen. I got Kansas covering. I got Kansas winning.
Oh. All right, Baylor. Let me tell you. We've been riding this Kansas bandwagon. Give me Baylor to win because Kansas, let me tell you, Dorothy, she's ran out of her, she doesn't have the slippers anymore. So guess what? The Bears get it done.
There you go. Is Kansas at 4 wins or 5 wins? They're at 5 wins. They're going for bowl eligibility, though.
Oh,
this is big, man.
Oh, Baylor wants to deny the bowl to Dorothy.
There you go. I respect it.
Okay.
I respect it. There you go. Next one, huge game. Michigan at Ohio State. Ohio State favored by 20.5. Michigan's going to cover here. I think it's going to be a really, really close game. Wouldn't surprise me if Michigan, I don't know, man, they could win this one. Look, Michigan's a very hard-fighting team. This is a very physical team. Obviously not great, but it's also it's in Columbus. I think Ohio State will win this game, but maybe by a touchdown, man. This Ohio State, I mean, look, they played really well against Indiana, but other than that, have they really pulled away from a really good team? Not really, when you think about it. I think this is a big rivalry game. Can Ohio State get over the Michigan hump? They have not won in I don't know how many years. Can they get over it? We're going to see. It's going to be a cold one in Columbus, but I got Michigan covering the 20.5.
I'm gonna go. I agree with you. Beautiful pick. Michigan covers. Ohio State will just end up with more points than Michigan, just because they have a little bit better offense. Ryan Day, his life literally might depend on winning this game. So Ohio State's going to win it. But Michigan is going to put up a fight. Ohio State, 1 touchdown.
There you go.
No cover. No cover.
If this was in Ann Arbor, I'm taking Michigan to outright win it. But
Oh,
it's not. South Carolina at Clemson. Clemson only favored by 2.5. Clemson has playoff hopes here if they win this game. This is a huge, huge game for Clemson. South Carolina, these two teams hate each other. If this is in William Bryce Stadium, I would take South Carolina, but it's not. It's at Clemson. I think it's a noon game. I have Clemson covering here. I think they win this game just because they want to make the playoff, man. They're trying to make it there.
oh. Gamecocks win it for the SEC. And the only reason I'm picking it because I was playing golf yesterday. I hit a par in a hole, by the way.
I seen that.
And it was great. It was beautiful, beautiful, beautiful swing. Beautiful swing. And I used the orange ball so I can see where a ball goes. But as we're playing, we're doing a lesson. I'm like taking lessons. And the guys behind us, we're telling them to go in front of us so that, because we're going to take a long time. And so as they drive by, the guy's doing the Gator chomp. And he's like, yeah, well, I'm really a South Carolina fan, but I just saw your Gator bag. And I was like, go Gators.
They're weird.
South Carolina.
Yo,
Okay.
South Carolina fans are weird. There's that actual like thing with like their tradition and stuff where they cheer for other SEC schools. Like they know all the chants. They're really weird.
Oh,
dude.
wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, they love the SEC.
Maybe that's what it was because he was like doing the Gator chomp and he was like saying everything. And so I was like, you know what? South Carolina wins this Saturday against Clemson.
There you go.
Gamecocks, Beamer ball, baby.
Yeah. That'd be a big win for them. They're a really good team. If a couple different, I don't know, just a couple snaps and they're, a 2-1 loss team. But yeah, no, bro, it's really funny. Like they'll literally put stickers of all the other SEC teams on their car. They're weird, man. They're really strange people. Next one we got Arizona State favored by 7.5 at Arizona. Big rivalry game. Arizona's a sneaky team, man. They're not bad. They got a good group there. I really like their quarterback. Can they make something happen against an Arizona State team who's hungry? I don't think so. But 7.5, so that means they win by... I got Arizona State winning this game, and I got them covering, but I don't like that pick.
Ooh.
It's a tough one.
Let me tell you something. Arizona State is going to win this game, and Arizona State is going to cover. They are playing at a high level right now, and Arizona, it's a rivalry game, but it ain't that. It doesn't mean more. Sun Devils by 10.
There you go. I think it's gonna be 10 as well. Next game, Miami favored by 10.5 at Syracuse. ACC hopes.
Ooh.
Syracuse is a good football team. They're going into the Dome, the freshly renovated Dome. It's actually a beautiful looking stadium now. I got Syracuse keeping it under 10.5. It wouldn't surprise me if they actually even get the upset here, man. I think Miami's luck might run out at the end. I think Syracuse at least keeps it a lot closer than 10.5.
Great. Beautiful pick. Beautiful pick. Syracuse cover. Miami just, something is wrong with them. It's like they're just, everything's Cam Ward. Nothing else matters. You're going to have a more of a team effort to beat Syracuse. So I'm going to go Syracuse cover. I might even pick Syracuse outright in this game.
Yeah, I'm with you.
But
luckily, that doesn't matter. As long as they cover, it's okay.
Right.
Right.
I'm going to say Syracuse covers. Miami, you're lucky you're playing indoors. Because if this was outside, I don't think you'd win it.
Nope.
Syracuse cover.
There you go. Great pick. Next one we have Notre Dame at USC. Notre Dame favored by 6.5 at USC. USC's a hungry team. They are one of the best teams in the Big Ten. I know their record says otherwise, but dude, there's so many close games. They've lost by like a combined. It's insane. I don't know what the combined points are, but they've lost 3-point games by a touchdown. It's insane, man. You can only feel bad for Lincoln Riley and those guys. They're gonna be dangerous next year because they're young. Notre Dame has to win this game. They have to, right? If they lose this game, they're out of the playoff because they don't have a conference championship. I think because of that, they win this game. They cover because they win by a touchdown. But if this, I don't know, man. This is a weird game. I think USC is actually the better team. I think USC. I just feel like the hunger for the playoffs is going to be more than, you know what I mean, a lot of other feelings. So I got Notre Dame covering.
Man,
6.5.
let me tell you, you're right. USC 6-5, all 5 losses by a touchdown or less. Insane. Think about that. The ball bounces off a helmet, and I'm 11-0. You know, so Notre Dame is just a solid team right now. All phases of the game, they have it turned around. They're just too tough. Give me Notre Dame touchdown by a touchdown or more. USC, unfortunately, you needed a little bit more on offense to get through the year. You didn't get it. Notre Dame covers.
There you go. Good pick. Good pick. Auburn at Alabama. Going to Bryant-Denny at Saban Field. Bama favored by 12.5, man. This is going to be a very fun game. What is Bama even playing for? I guess the hope to maybe slip in the playoff. Maybe. But they're a 3-loss team, right?
Yep.
Oh, yeah, so they're probably done. I feel like Auburn, though, coming off of a pretty emotional win, which we didn't even talk about Texas A&M. That was an insane game, man. 4 overtime.
Yeah.
I mean, just
Wow.
unbelievable. Nick Saban before the game was talking about how Jordan Hare is haunted, and it is haunted, obviously, because Auburn looked like a whole different team out there with offense and defense. I have Alabama covering. They've screwed me over so many times this year. Let's not screw me over again. I just feel like Auburn, an emotional win. Going into Bryant-Denny, Bama's pissed after getting destroyed, and also you can run against this Auburn defense. And that's what Bama loves to do, and Milroe's going to have a crazy game.
If there's one game you don't predict, it's the Iron Bowl. You roll the dice. Unless Bama just looks unstoppable.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm going to go Auburn to cover in this game because the Tigers are sick and tired of losing to Alabama. And this is their chance to put up a fight and have some saving grace for their season. I was born in Alabama, and there's a saying. Around here, it's not about where you're from, it's about who you're for. And the Auburn fans want to win this game. Also, this game is it's not a matter between life and death. It's more important than that. Okay. Auburn covers.
There you go. Good pick. I like it. We're opposite on like 1, 2, 3 picks here, man. It's gonna be crazy. This might be comeback for you. We'll see. Cal at SMU. SMU favored by 11.5. Right there for the ACC championship. If they win this game, Cal, a nasty team, man, dirty team. But can they stop Jennings in that SMU offense? I got SMU covering and winning this game specifically by 2 touchdowns, but Cal's an aggressive little team, man. They can make something happen.
I was trying to look up something on this game. SMU is just too high powered. And at the end of the day, if you're Cal, you got to keep up. Cal's been able to score some points.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember that Miami game. I was like, how are they scoring? Give me SMU to cover. They're too high powered. It's going to be close, but then the ball's going to bounce off a helmet and then they'll cover at the last second. Mustangs cover.
Love it. Love it. And then the absolute, well, it was one of the biggest games, but, Auburn was like, I'm going to change this a little bit. Texas favored by 7.5 at Kyle Field. An old rivalry. These two teams hate each other, and it's finally back because both teams are in the SEC. This game hasn't been played in a long time. A long time since Texas A&M left the Big 12. Texas playing for playoff, playing for the SEC championship, and Texas A&M not playing for the SEC championship, but playing to destroy Texas. And because of that, at Kyle Field, night game, I got Texas A&M outright winning this and causing all kinds of chaos in the SEC. I got Texas A&M covering.
Oh, yeah. Logan special.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man. Let's go different. Let's go different here. Let me go Texas to cover. I think I completely hear what you're saying, and if it happens, I'm not going to say I was shocked, but I think the Longhorns. This is kind of like Florida, Miami, like they used to play every year, then they stop. I think that the Longhorns are going to show up and win this game convincingly, and the Texas A&M 12th man is going to be face planted in the third quarter. I think Texas is going to say, you know what? This is our time. Everything's in front of us. Let's get out there and let's smoke these dudes. And the Texas D-line going to come after you, Marcel. Going to get the stop. Ewers up top. Texas cover.
There you go. Listen, I just can't pick Texas because they haven't proven anything yet. You know what I mean? They haven't proven any big games yet. We'll see.
And they're not good at covering the spread either. They're not good at covering the spread. So
unless they play Florida.
Matthew McConaughey.
All right. All right. Yeah, it's gonna be a fun one, man. I'll be watching that on my phone in Doak Campbell Stadium. There you go. Those are our picks for this week. You guys pick along with us. Stay with our records and let us know how you guys are doing with that. That is going to be it for the episode on the Ole Miss reaction and the Florida State prep. It's Florida State hate week. I love it, man. I hate FSU so much, and it's like I said, it's a rivalry I love. You know what I mean? I hate to love these guys. It's great, dude. It's a great week. EJ, anything you want to say to these beautiful people?
We love you guys. Comment, like, subscribe, do all the things. Let us know what you all want to see this week as we play Florida State. This week is a big recruiting week for Florida. We'll see what some recruits have to think about the last couple of games, the future of the program. We cannot lose this game, Gators. Billy, I know we were really excited, emotional. Yesterday was yesterday.
Yep.
Now we got to move forward. We have to put all eyes on Tallahassee. We got to win this game because the future depends on it. That's all we got to say.
Yeah, it's scary for sure. So we'll see what happens, baby. Let's go kill it. And like EJ said, any recruiting updates that we have, we'll get back with you guys because I expect a commit or two throughout the week this week. So we'll keep you guys updated. But love y'all. Stay safe. See you next week.
Peace.